No, I don't think so.
Red leather, yellow leather. Unique New York.
Is that one of the ones?
Yeah. There's a bunch of them. Like I'll see them do it in shows or something like. Yeah, it's like if you say peanut butter watermelon or.
What do you got? Give me a few.
Red leather, yellow leather. Red leather, yellow leather. Unique New York. Unique New York.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, these are insider trade secrets here. So you know, I'm not.
I wasn't a drama kid like you,
Man,
so
you don't know what you missed.
I missed a lot of weird kids dressed all in black shoes, running around.
Kids just trying so hard to be extra that it's just it's I don't know. I actually found like I'm not really much of an actor, but like little things like that kind of come in handy in some ways.
Well, don't sell yourself short. You know what I mean? We're
you know, like hey, like you never know when you can suddenly hit it. I always like kind of half dream of becoming one of those like that guy character actors, like you know, like
you're gonna be like a Benny Safdie. One moment you're kind of like a disabled man who struggles to like take care of himself, and then next thing you know, you're in like Kenobi. You know?
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
See, that's the gateway. That's
how you do it.
That's the people Marvel or Disney loves for specifically Star Wars films too. It feels like they always are trying to like catch somebody that's like who was in the last A24 movie or you know what I mean, like they or you know, give me the next Fleabag. Okay, yeah, you're going to be Indiana Jones or something. Like it's always somebody that you know has a little bit of pedigree because they had some sort of indie thing that popped, but you almost also get the impression that they don't even know what the thing is that you know, they don't know anything about Star Wars or whatever, you know.
Well, that's how they got what's her name? Zhao?
Oh, Chloe Zhao. Oh, yeah. Oh, did you see the Eternals?
I did, my friend. So let's do a brief introduction, you guys. It's been a long time. We took a long time off, you know, because some things happened. I'm, you know, I don't know. I don't really talk about it much, but I'm in the military, and I was gone for a time, and I was gone from March until October, like the end of September, and so having a lot of fun. You know what I mean? Just a lot of fun in the sun and hanging out with your buds, having fun with
is it just all
M4
Beach
rifles
Boys lyrics?
and absolutely. You know what I mean? It's, if you've ever seen Three Kings when they're just driving around down I get around, you know what I mean? Try to insert that scene. But yeah, a lot of fun out there. So anyway, missed a lot of stuff.
I gotta say that's gotta be particularly weird for you because like you basically had to go into a pop culture blackout for somebody that's like literally like had to be clued into like most spheres of pop culture for like all the time. That must have been a you know, weird experience. Like what were the biggest bullet points of things that you missed? Like I assume you've been catching up on all of that since you got back, right?
Yeah, so I've been trying slowly but surely to try to catch up on some of the best stuff. So that's kind of what we're going to do a little bit now, is talk about like what have we missed? You know what I mean? I know, like, oh, you missed Mortal Kombat, Godzilla vs. Kong. Like you missed like big things that I'm aware of, you know what I mean? So like no, I know. So like it's probably, you know, we were briefly talking earlier, like it's probably it's the best of times and it's the worst of times, you know what I mean? Like it's a great time to just go away and do things in hot places where you don't have any internet connection. So yeah, like we, you know, it's funny because people would spoil stuff for each other, but a lot of it was like anime spoiling.
Oh, really?
You know what I mean? So like so like, oh man, did you see what happened in the next Naruto? Or like so and so died in Naruto or something, and I'd be like, I don't have it. You know, I don't know. You know what I mean? So, but we you know, it's the army. People are younger. People like anime. I enjoy anime, but like, I'm not like a huge
like there's like
dude,
a whole
you know what I mean?
like. There's like I dally in anime, and then there's like the people that are like I mainline anime for everything, and like have since I was like 5 years old or something like that.
Yeah, but like a character in an anime dying,
that's like earth shattering,
directly devastating. Yeah, it was like a major thing. You know what I mean? So yeah, you got some of that. I mean, we had like someone was trying to explain. Someone was trying to. I remember someone trying to explain the plot of Mortal Kombat because they had read it or saw it online or something like that. Somehow they'd gotten it, and they're like, Sub-Zero does this, and then like Raiden comes in, and they like he comes in and does this to Raiden's family. Like he's trying to explain the whole thing. And I'm just like, dude, I just,
it's like campfire stories almost. It's like
sort of, but like it, it's I don't know, man. It's weird. The things you talk about, yeah, it's like people care about, like, you want to hear about like sports news, you want to hear about different things when you're kind of removed from kind of pop culture and all that stuff. So I feel like what I missed the most, I didn't miss the movies themselves as much as I missed the trailers or the news or the announcements of things that are going to happen. And so I think that's what I'm behind the 8 ball on still currently trying to catch up, is like, what so-and-so was announced to star in so-and-so, you know what I mean? Like, oh, a sequel to this piece of shit movie's getting made. You know what I mean? Like, it's all that, it's that daily grind of the news cycle that I just was removed from for like 6-7 months of just not knowing what is happening, who's getting cast in this, and
blah,
like
blah,
I was
blah,
saying
before,
stuff,
like, you were always, like, I've always been impressed with just how at all times clued into all of this stuff you, like, always were. So just to suddenly be like, yeah, cut off from that for a little bit, like, had to be just like a shock to the system.
Yeah, it was nice in some ways. Like, it's cool when you can, you're just worried about yourself and your job and like,
you can, like, decompress,
not dying, not getting hurt. Yeah, like you're just, you worry about everything around you that you can control and stuff like that.
Shit that actually matters kind of a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like,
I guess, but it's hard because I think you learn a lot about yourself and what really is kind of important when you're just removed from a lot of different distractions and things like that. But I had already done that, you know what I mean? Like, I'm older, like I'm 30 or mid 30s or whatever. By now I have 4 friends. You know what I mean? Like, I have, you know what I mean? Like, you've pushed everything out of your life.
Like, you kind of,
that doesn't really serve you, serve its purpose or whatever, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, you're dealing with just so many kids that are, an 18-year-old that's freaking out and he's like, I'm divorcing my wife, my other 18-year-old wife. And you're like, you got to relax, bro. You're freaking out. It's like being in a video game where like all the NPCs are like actual humans. And you're like, you need to chill the fuck out, not send your, it's
that's kind of cool that you can at least, because like, I don't know, I always had like the thought that like, gee, I feel like if I had gone to college with a little bit more maturity, I would have taken more advantage of it. So like, I feel the same thing, like doing this shit, but like not doing it like when you're like super young or whatever. I feel like you can kind of like, you have the life experience to like kind of know how to handle this stuff a lot better, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, the older you are, the better and the worse you are for military service is what I would say. So, yeah, mentally you're in much better shape, and then physically you're just trying not to die just every day. So, you know what I mean? So, for the most part, made it without much, there's always bumps and bruises.
Well, I'm glad you made it back in one piece, buddy.
We're alive. You know what I mean? We're alive. So, well, there you go. So,
and now we're here to talk about things that really matter, like fucking Marvel movies.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Eternals, the good shit, the real important stuff. I mean, did you see this? Did you see the Eternals?
I was out on this since they, like, before they had a director attached or whatever. And I the thing was, like, once again, this is one of those things where I was like, I was out on it because the Eternals always seemed like a lame concept in comic book form, and I even, like, I got the Neil Gaiman run, like, I got the first, like, 6 or 7.
It was, like, 15 years ago, something like that, like 2006
It was in the middle of when they were doing Civil War, so it must have been, like, 2007, 2008, and like, I remember, because, like, you remember I used to live I had lived with several people, and 2 of them were like comic book gods, basically, that like knew everything that there was to know about comic books and kind of clued me in on a lot of stuff I know now. But like, they knew everything, but they also nerded out about Jack Kirby stuff specifically. So like they were really into the New Gods, and then by proxy they were into the Eternals. And so when Neil Gaiman did his reboot of them basically around 2007 2008, they were into it then, and that was one of those things that I was like, I don't know, this seems a little too nerdy for me. So like since a lot of the things that I learned from them have since kind of come in vogue again, like Dune is another example that's very topical now.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I knew the Eternals movie was coming out, so I was like, okay, cool, I'll try giving this Eternals Neil Gaiman run a try. And I read it, and I was like, this feels so hokey, and like it's well illustrated. There's some cool concepts in it, but overall, it just feels a little too. It's like not the sort of. It's not the sort of, and like same thing. It's just not my bag kind of thing. Is like I know
Mm-hmm.
plenty of people. It's like one of those like I don't want to yuck your yum sort of thing. Like there are aspects of it that I like, but overall it felt like a different logic than you usually get from like a Marvel property. Like usually they're more science based, and even though this is like a sci-fi concept, it feels more like almost like magic because there's so little. There's like anytime you have like, oh, these characters have been around for thousands of years and they're fighting evil demon creature, like there's just so many issues I had with the logic of the whole thing. So like the thing that gets me now is like I wonder how. I'm curious, like I want to ask you how you feel this works in the Marvel universe, because the thing that worried me is I kind of wonder if this is going to like break the Marvel universe a little bit. Like I hate it when you have stories where it's like, oh, these 5 characters are responsible for everything that happened in history, and that basically sounds like what it is, right?
That's right. So it's a weird thing because they've basically kind of, I don't know whether or not it's a spoiler, but basically you're told that I don't know if this is a spoiler or not, but like in this movie they've basically just removed the concept of God and religion mm-hmm. as creating humanity. They've basically just said, this thing is responsible for people and humanity and creation, which just is, and I'm not like, neither of us are like really religious, but I was like, well, that's a big bite. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that's a pretty, and I was like, I wonder how that will play, or if people just go, oh, I don't care, or if it's just like, but like imagine you're sitting in an audience and something is like, oh, there is no God, there is no and you're here as a part of some larger plan of something else that doesn't really care about you in a way. You know what I mean? So it was kind of an odd I don't know. I don't know if you haven't seen the Eternals and you're upset. I mean,
it's a weird pill to. Yeah, it seems like an inherently uncommercial concept. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't feel like it's like one of those things where like Marvel's doing that thing. I think especially in this phase where they're like, okay, we're gonna try to do our experimental stuff, or we're gonna try our different things now, because it's almost like, this is like a building year if this was a basketball team or something like that. Like, okay, we're trying different things. We're seeing like what will fly and what won't. So like I respect them for doing that. And like, look, they got an Oscar-winning director to do it. But I also feel like, unfortunately, now Marvel is going to be like, well, we tried this, so we're just gonna never do this again. Like we're never.
Yeah, and I'd be cool with that, honestly, if they just. They kind of do that
because sounds like the Marvel model does not work well with tours or whatever, right? Like, is there? It sounds like there's a discordance between the Marvel-y stuff and the not Marvel stuff, right?
Yeah. So, like, I mean, I think the reason they kind of signed her on to direct it was they were blown away, I think, by she had a presentation or something, and she was like, I'm interested in this, and I want to, she put forth kind of a presentation, and they were like, this is so good, but if we don't sign her, she's going to sign with some other high profile thing or something, right? They were like, it was like buying the options to her as a director more than anything. So I don't know if she was really well suited for this story
Probably,
specifically.
yeah.
Yeah, like she was like, because I was reading about it, and she's like, I wanted to look at the Gaiman run. I wanted to look at like Terrence Malick films and make like a Marvel movie out of that. I want to do like my 360 pans. I was like, I guess some of that works, but man, like I didn't get the sense that. And I haven't seen Nomadland, and I haven't seen. Is it The Rider?
Yeah.
Is that the other one that she won?
And I think this is her. That's it. Like she did a short film, and this is pretty much her third movie.
Right. I haven't seen those, but are those giant ensemble casts?
No.
With,
I mean,
with
it's
just a ton of people and ton of shit going on. I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, I have not seen The Rider,
Yeah.
but Nomadland is definitely like an intimate, and like I'm guessing. What is there like some good intimate moments, but then there's like it just doesn't match with the fucking giant, CGI battles and shit like that. And
yeah, it just it doesn't. It like I think this was and I've heard a few, like I tried to read some critics. I tried to read some different things of how people, because it's not being well received.
Yeah.
I think it's the worst rated Marvel film in the whole MCU run. I think it's under 50 on the Rotten Tomatoes list, which, my God, like, just take a step back, people, and think about how bad, just for a second, you've got a diverse female director. You've got the most diverse cast of any Marvel film. You have every type of something represented, you know what I mean, which is fine. It's just, I don't know if it seems forced or whatever, but she was very adamant, like, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. I want it incredibly diverse. Like, I don't know the original source material, but like people were saying there was gender swap. There were orientation swaps. There's all kinds of different stuff. So I don't know. I don't know anything to compare it to. This is my Eternals. Like, I don't know anything different.
So like, my curiosity was like, I kind of, because like I said, like I feel like this is Marvel's like phase. This whole phase is Marvel trying different thing, but I also feel like they're checking a bunch of boxes. Like they're like, especially diversity. Like they've been like, that's one thing that they've been kind of hammered on, and it sounds like they've been trying to like okay, Black Widow, we got kind of our more feminist movie, and then we got Shang-Chi, and that's like kind of our Asian led cast kind of thing. So. I feel, but so the thing that I kind of worry about too is like if it'll be like somebody in an executive board was basically like, okay, so this is our lamest property and our biggest risk, so we're just gonna blanket check a bunch of boxes, and then if it fails, then like we can always, you know what I mean? Like I wonder if it's like,
I wonder if you're right. Yeah, because I think my point I was trying to make is like they went out and made the most diverse, not even woke, because I don't think it was really agenda pushing or anything like that, but a very progressive movie. Okay, and it was very poorly received, and those two things typically do not coincide.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. No, I feel like not as many people can accuse.
Yeah,
people can't be like, "Oh, you're paying Rotten Tomatoes to give us good reviews." It's like, well,
right. So, like, I always raise an eyebrow when I'm like, "Why do the critics all love this, but the people hated it, or vice versa, or something like this?" Because in this day and age, the critics, I think they take a deep breath before they hit send on a shitty review for something like this.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? You know what I mean? So like I was like, wow, they
what's the audience score compared to the critical? Like once again, I've done no research about this, but I'm just curious: are they just both in the toilet pretty much? Or?
I know the audience score was quite a bit higher than the Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, because I've heard some people defend it. Like I've heard some people say like, oh no, and I kind of almost wonder if it's like this would play better for people who don't normally like Marvel movies or something. Once again, I got no perspective.
That could be another theory, because if you reverse bombed it, you know what I mean? What do they call it? When review bomb?
Yeah, like you kind of like give.
They deleted the feature or something from Rotten Tomatoes. Didn't they delete it so that now you can't go in and hate Captain Marvel anymore?
Oh, really?
Isn't that what? Yeah, because people are just going in and hating Captain Marvel so that they could drive down the audience score. And I think on like IMDb, like you could vote on, I think for a while you could vote, like you could give like Captain Marvel a 1-star review on IMDb like 6 months before it came out.
Oh,
and I think they've made some changes because those goddamn white racist men out there just hate Captain Marvel. You know what I mean? So we got to get rid of them. But I don't know, man. I mean, you know, I think it appropriately kind of earned all of the
like it just sounds like it's kind of a mess. Like the thing that I've heard, you know, and when there's like blood in the water and you have a true stinker, like you can not be interested in it, and just the internet zeitgeist will let you know, like, oh, we've got another Cats on our hands, people. So like it sounds like this isn't like Cats level bad, but like for a Marvel movie, having things be you know, as blatantly probably not working is kind of a thing. But I think also probably more when I go back to my analogy about like, oh, is there an executive somewhere in Marvel that's like, we're going to use this? Like, unfortunately, the thing that happens in Hollywood a lot is like, if you're a male director and you have a bomb, you usually get like 2 more bites at the apple. And unfortunately, historically, like it does not happen as much for female directors. So I'm kind of hoping, I'm sure she'll be fine, but it sounds like Chloe Zhao's probably lost her like this is probably going to be her one foray into doing Marvel movies. But like I think Marvel's going to be fine, because like, you know, like lest we all forget, like anyone remember the first Thor? Like everyone says the second Thor is bad, but the first one is like terrible. Like the first one, and it was directed by Kenneth Branagh, another like Oscar-y kind of director that kind of probably just wasn't well suited to the subject matter, even though you'd think that they would be on paper, you know. So it's probably the same thing. Like Marvel's very good at, like, you know, like if you think back to phase 2, like, or phase 1 or whatever, all the stuff like leading up to the Avengers was pretty shaky, aside from Iron Man and maybe Captain America. So like I bet you like they'll get a more commercial director on for the second one. Or I was thinking, it sounds like this might be better suited for a TV series, so maybe in like
that's what I kept thinking when I was 150 minutes into the runtime, and you're like, it was an hour and 57 is what I have here, but I was like, I'm literally fighting back the urge to fall asleep. I'm so incredibly tired and bored.
And is it just all talking? Like, are people doing stuff?
There's so much exposition. I would literally close my eyes and just relax and try not to fall asleep as I listen to, you know, Eternal C argue with Eternal F about, you know, something that happened 4,000 years ago in Babylon or something. You know what I mean? I'm like, you guys just bit off way more than you could chew. And I kept thinking, was this designed at any point to be like a children's film?
Oh, yeah.
Like I know Marvel and MCU has like moved on from being kids films. I don't know if they ever really were, but I was like, there were children in and around that movie theater just dying in there.
I mean,
you know
there's nothing. Like, once again, like, I'm just basing it off the trailer, but there's nothing that's like, oh yeah, that'll make a cool toy, you know, which I think is, I respect on one level, but like on another hand, like I just don't think there's anything that seemed that cool. Like I in the trailer, aside from the Celestials, which I remember being the one thing that I thought was cool from the comic, and it looked like the one cool thing in the movie, but all the stuff that's actually Eternals related, like, there doesn't seem like there's like any inner logic to it, you know what I mean? Like if you look at Guardians of the Galaxy, you know, you look at the way the ships are designed, you have some sort of like, okay, this is a Star Wars like thing, like these ships are alien technology that they work X, Y, and Z or whatever. But like the whole thing with the Eternals is like their shit runs on alien technology that's so advanced that it might as well be magic, and like their spaceships look like big giant stones or something, and their costume design looks kind of boring. Once again, it's horrible. Yeah, like
that was some of the worst. I was like, this your wardrobe looks like shitty WB TV superhero shit. I was like, what are you guys doing? Holy shit. And then you're going to superimpose these on pieces of plastic and try to sell these as action figures.
Yeah.
Like, no one's buying that shit. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
like,
it just has like I don't know, hubris written all over it. Like,
no, I think it's a warning of like a big ensemble cast of characters that no one cares about, and then you spend over 2 hours proving that, yep, you were right. You shouldn't care about these characters. They're completely hollow and shitty and suck. Except Kumail, I can never fucking say his name. What's his last name? There you go. He's great. He's great in it because he's just himself.
Yeah.
Like, he's not even a character. You know what I mean? And we'll get to Salma Hayek. You know what I mean? Because I was like, God damn it, Salma Hayek. It's just another Salma Hayek movie. You know what I mean? Have I gone on my Salma Hayek rants with you? I can't remember.
Vaguely rings a bell, but I can't remember specifically.
This is not a hate-filled rant, but like, let's be honest. Salma Hayek is the female version of Bruce Willis.
They just play
literally
themselves.
just put her in. She wears different clothes. She says different words. But God damn it, it's just Salma Hayek every time. I never believe I'm watching a performance by an actress. I'm just watching Salma Hayek read.
I mean, I always kind of think, not like all the time, but it does kind of qualify the difference between like a famous actor and a movie star, because like when you're just paying to watch Bruce Willis or Schwarzenegger or whatever, like you don't care really about what role they're playing, then you're a star, I guess. And some people are like that. Some people are like shitty actors, but like
you can make a living. Like, I think we'll probably talk about Ryan Reynolds in Red Notice later. I watched
Ryan Reynolds?
Just goddamn Ryan Reynolds every movie. That's all he is. He might be zigging a zag this way, or this time he's a cop, or this time he's
It sucks because everything is Deadpool now. Like, everything is like...
Pretty much.
And I get he was like that before, and that's why that's material is a perfect match, but it's like, sucks because now it's such a financial success, and now you can tell no one has the power to say no to Ryan Reynolds on any project now, so he's just like kind of ad-libbing and doing his thing, and it sucks because it's just like, I feel like outside of Deadpool that stuff usually doesn't work.
Well, he's really narrowed down what he can do now, because I don't see him doing as much Safe House. Now he's doing The Hitman's Bodyguard 2, where it's kind of like a fun, wacky, action movie with Salma Hayek. I think is in that too. God damn it! Everything comes back to Salma Hayek in the end.
It's all making sense.
But yeah, but I mean, Salma Hayek. They went out and got probably the most wooden actress I've ever seen. She would kick. Let's see, if you put a wooden battle between her and like Daisy Ridley in The Force Awakens, and you said like who could be more wooden. This chick would win. The chick who would played Cersei, Gemma Chan? She's not terrible, but man, she's just kind of tough. Mm-hmm. It was really weird. They really just, other than Kumail, man, I mean, they just... You don't like anyone.
Did you ever have an issue with the main guy that is not Sebastian Stan, looking like Sebastian Stan?
Oh, wait, the other guy from Game of Thrones?
Yeah, I think.
Who plays Icarus?
Yeah. But like, he's the dude that in the trailer everyone was like, "Wait, what's Sebastian Stan doing in this movie?" Oh, wait, that's not Sebastian Stan, right? Like,
you're not talking about Barry Keoghan, are you?
Oh no. The guy from Game of Thrones, the dude that has lasers shooting out of his eyes.
Yeah, he basically is like a poor man's Superman.
Yeah.
No, I mean, Richard Madden. Yeah. I didn't really like his character. He's just kind of
bland. Once again, based on a trailer.
Very, very bland, stoic-y Superman archetype player that, he gets interesting, I think, later on. But, I mean, none of the characters are really interesting. I think my favorite guy, other than Kumail, Don Lee, he sucked. No, Don Lee was great. I'm looking at Barry Keoghan. Barry Keoghan was terrible.
Barry Keoghan's the dude from Killing of a Sacred Deer?
Killing of a Sacred Deer. And he was in
all the weird indie...
Christopher Nolan,
Dunkirk,
Dunkirk. Yeah, he's been in a bunch of weird shit. And then I was like, oh, he's gonna be in this. All right, that might be interesting. And couldn't have been like more disappointed in just a absolute blah.
Yeah. Is he
nothing.
A bad guy? I assume he's a bad guy. If he's...
No, he's one of the Eternals. My guy.
Weird. Okay.
He was terrible. Don Lee as Gilgamesh. He's the strongest Eternal.
Oh, he's the
apparently.
dude from Train to Busan?
I'm going to take your word for that, but he was great because I was like, you know what? I feel nice and represented. It's two fat guys on the Eternals. They're wearing robes. This is a very body positive film about a group of big fat guys that are just out there being superheroes. So enjoyed that, you know what I mean? So more fat guys.
Brian
Eternals.
Tyree Henry's kind of thick himself, right?
Absolutely. They had him dressed like Lord Varys or what was his name from Game of Thrones?
Once again, never watched
Varys?
Never watched Game of Thrones.
Lord Varys, the big fat bald guy? You've never
No, we've had this
Damn,
discussion.
Dude.
We've literally had it on this podcast.
Well, what do you want to watch first? You want to watch all the Fast and Furiouses, or do you want to watch Game of Thrones?
Well, I thought Game of Thrones would no longer be relevant once the fucking show ended, but now apparently not. I'll do Vin before I do Dragons.
All right. Well, we're gonna see. So we will. I mean, how are we gonna do this? What's your schedule like? Do you have a couple weeks so you could just take off and then just watch all the Game of Thrones?
Oh fuck no! No, we tried doing this when the show was on the last season.
Yeah,
like
right?
Ross, my brother and I lived together, and we were going to binge the whole thing, and we got like 5 episodes into it, and we said fuck it, and I just ended up watching the last season. I know
Terrible.
It's the worst one.
Do you guys hear that? What kind of a psychopath? I mean, we have a whole video. I remember us talking about this, but yeah. What a psycho move! All right, we'll punish you with all the Fast and the Furious.
Oh, don't worry, I'm waiting for 10 to come out. That's gonna be my cap.
That doesn't come out for a year.
Well,
or two, I think, right?
Darn!
Because they're fighting in the press.
I'll need a year or two to prep for it mentally.
Bide your time, my friend. Bide your time. But anyway, you know what I mean. I don't know. Wrapping it up on the Eternals. Just incredibly disappointing. I'm sure it'll still make $400 million or whatever.
Yeah. So like, I've been hearing a lot of stuff about like, you know. It's still like, it's not like Marvel's going to be like, okay, we tried this, now we're going to pretend this didn't happen. Like, I think they're still going to be like, no, the Eternals are going to be essential characters going forward, which I mean makes sense because if they had such a huge impact on the world going, but like some people were saying that maybe like the stuff with the Celestials will eventually lead to Galactus being the big bad, kind of the Thanos like threat at the end of, 10 years from now or whenever.
I guess so. I thought it was Galactus somehow or something. I don't know. I mean, I was like, what is this guy?
It's basically like,
yeah,
if I had to guess, like the Celestials are big, weird cosmic dudes. So maybe Galactus in this version is like a bigger version of a Celestial. I'm kind of curious how the hell you'll have superheroes fighting like a creature that's like literally the size of a planet or whatever, but yeah, I don't know. I'm sure they've got plans for that all figured out somewhere in the Marvel labs somewhere. But yeah, I was always kind of sad though that because it seemed like the Eternals was basically what the Inhumans was like, because they were going to make an Inhumans movie for the longest time, and then they ended up just doing the shitty ABC TV show that like everyone hated and like was terrible and got canceled after 5 episodes. But like really it's the same story, so it's
that's what I felt like I was watching. I'm like, why am I watching this?
And I feel like it would have broken the universe a little bit less, because it's like, okay, you have like basically all the same dynamics from the society, but you don't have them be responsible for the fucking atom bomb or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, whenever they do that, whenever they have like, oh, the Transformers actually helped fight the Nazis, like it brings up way too many implications of things. It's usually not a good route to go.
No, it's weird. They do a little bit too much of that, where they're like, we should step in, and I don't want to get into it, but yeah, there's all, there's a lot of stuff going on where they just cherry pick historical events, kind of dance around them. Why did you guys let the Holocaust and the atom bomb happen? You know what I mean? Like, and it's like a can of worms, man, that I just, I don't even want to watch a pretend conversation about why people would
hard to
not stop the Holocaust.
Exactly. It's impossible to have that conversation without being done in good taste. To do that conversation, it's impossible to do that and do it in good taste, and you're kind of fucked, because it's like, either why did they sit at this horrible world event, or why did they, or like once again, like maybe they put these fictional characters like tied to real world atrocities, and that's not in good taste. So it's I don't know. It just seems like not a good route to go down in the first place. Oh well, we'll have to be prepared for the next 5 sequels. I'm sure they'll.
Good luck paying those people, man. You know what I mean? I don't know. They're gonna be able to get those people back, but I don't know, man. You know, I've been trying to. Did you see? I mean, I'm sure you saw Dune.
I did see Dune. Yeah, HBO Max, baby.
HBO Max, the God. You know what I mean? Still holding down that godlike status.
Yeah, seriously. They just keep getting better, honestly.
Know? Next week we got Will Smith movie coming out, and then we got
oh yeah.
What else? What else we got? We got
Matrix.
The Matrix coming out a little bit. You know what I mean? Just sitting back, just enjoying all the HBO Max goodness, watching the, you know, Denis Villeneuve freak out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You're trying to watch it on the smallest screen you have available.
Absolutely. And so, you know, that son of a and I did, bro. I did. I just sat back at home and watched it.
Get it on your Apple Watch or something like that?
No, not the smallest. You know what I mean? Did you see all those people? There were memes of people watching like Dune on their phone. You know what I mean? And just, I guess, to trigger people.
Yeah,
or something.
I saw one that was like, it must have been like it was from like a village in Africa, and it was like a bunch of guys, like they had a projector and they were broadcasting it on the side of a cow, and it was like just the way Villeneuve always wanted to.
Exactly. Well, you know what? Good for them. You know what I mean? It's. You know, more people saw it this way for sure. You know what I mean?
It's great for the theaters, and you know, it does sound like everyone laughs because it's hard for people to do these like you have to see it in theaters conversation without kind of sounding a little pretentious, but it's great. Like, and a lot of people came out for that theatrical experience, and it's exactly the sort of thing that got people out. So whatever, more power to him. And it sounds like, especially since the sequel will not be day and date with HBO Max, like everyone will have to go out to the theaters to see the second part, and will probably be like jazzed for it and everything.
Have to trot my happy ass out there to the AMC or wherever out here that I can. But yeah, it's I'm a huge Dune guy. This is probably the most anticipated film since like his last since Blade Runner. You know what I mean? Like he went from Blade Runner to Dune, like huge mega sci-fi properties that I'm a massive fan of, and I don't know if I liked it as much as.
Oh, do you like the Lynch version better?
I almost like the Lynch one better, and I don't know if it's the nostalgia. You know what I mean? Because I grew up watching that crazy ass Lynch film. Just as a kid, you know what I mean? Like, this was my Dune. I'm not reading it, you know what I mean? It came out, what, in 84?
Yeah.
Is that when it came out?
About.
All right, so, yeah, I remember, growing up as a child, watching it and things like that. It not making any sense. It's crazy, but, like, I love just kind of the creepiness and the weirdness and the grossness and the monsters and the costumes and the puppets, and it was just dank and gross and shitty and like that lived in sci-fi. And I just don't know, man. Villeneuve's version
is like the opposite, right? It's like the IKEA version of that shit. So everything's streamlined it's like pristine and almost antiseptic.
Right, absolutely. You know what I mean? So I don't know. No one person. I enjoyed Chalamet.
Yeah. You liked everything, but it didn't have. It's funny because like what you're telling me is almost identical to what another guy I was asking about like about a week ago, who was like same thing, grew up with the book, grew up with the movie, and was saying the exact same thing. Like the Lynch version has just it doesn't make as much sense, but it's like got the heart a little bit more, and it might be one of those things where, I know like this version's only half a movie, so like probably the back end you'll be able to get into more of the weirder stuff. But I just don't think, I think like 80s David Lynch is probably like, you're not going to recreate that anywhere else. And he probably injected a bunch of his own, like I heard there's differences from the book, the 80s version and the 80s version. So, but yeah, it just also
Nah.
It also seems like it's just a little bit hammier, which is probably just more fun, you know, like in terms of, especially with that kind of like 80s sci-fi opera, space opera stuff where maybe not all the effects hold up, but that kind of contributes to the charm and everything, you know?
Yeah, it was definitely more that like practical effects kind of grossness and weirdness. I mean, there was so much weird dark shit in the first one that I just enjoyed so much more, and I was like, God damn, I'm twisted as like a 8-year-old or 9-year-old kid watching, you know, the Baron Harkonnen. He's like milking a cat, rat, or something. He's pulling plugs on some weird, like, there's a lot more weird, like, like the Baron is like definitely doing some weird shit to like young boys and men, and then you got like weird sting factors. There was so much weird, creepy tabooness.
Right. Yeah, everything's,
you know what I mean?
Drippy
That it was
and gross and vaguely sexual and
I mean overtly sexual. This guy's like sexually torturing weirdness. You got Sting coming out of the steam closet thing, but like I remember just like, ooh, this is bad. There's so much craziness. This guy's truly evil, you know, and just it's weird. It's I think the Harkonnens in the 2021 version are not more like sympathetic, but just you just see them as kind of another faction.
Yeah, like they're human. They're like
know.
actual human. Maybe not humans. I don't know how the fuck that works, but like they're actual characters and not kind of like one-dimensional evil bad guy. You know, like once again, less Star Wars. And it seems like the 80s version was maybe a little bit more of that Star Wars-y, because I'm sure the 80s version they were trying to cash in on Star Wars stuff, so they probably maybe were trying to get them to be like, yeah, add some more of that like grimy faded sci-fi kind of thing going on, right?
Yeah, like I think so. They make some choices. Like Lynch made some choices. So the books, like I've read the first couple of books, and I loved the first book because of the style. There's kind of the narrator. The Princess Irulan is kind of like a narrator
She's
almost
like
of like every
telling the story from like years in the future or whatever.
Yeah, so she's narrating in a style that is referring to the actions of the protagonist and the cast like it's scripture, like it's holy scripture, and it's really interesting kind of how they do it. And then Lynch used a ton of like introduction exposition to like explain what the hell is happening, and then he uses the whole opening scene is the creepy weird monster space navigator alien creatures that need the spice. And it's the Emperor explaining his horrible plan to these space navigators. So you've got like a way, like Lynch like really put it on you up front and like, here's the plot. Like, here's what's going to happen. Here's why it's happening. And the Villeneuve version, not so much. I think he put some like scrolls up or something. He put like some slides and he's like, spice is important.
Well, it seems like, and I think South Park even did a parody of this, but I purposely haven't seen the Lynch version in its entirety because I've been trying to work my way through the book, and one day I'll finish it, and once I finish it, I'll see the Lynch version. But the thing I know from the clips I've seen is, and in the book, is there's a lot of like inner monologue of characters because everyone's scheming and kind of like thinking like, oh, what is this person thinking, and you kind of hear their thoughts. And I think in the Lynch version they translate that by just having voiceovers, like you cut to the person's close up on person's face and you just hear like that person's voice in voiceover, like with some effects on it or whatever. And like, you know, I remember South Park was doing something like a Tom Brady episode where they were making fun of that. But so I assume it seems like in the Villeneuve version they've kind of dropped that, but you kind of less is explained. Like especially like if I didn't have any of that backstory going into the Villeneuve version, I would be very confused, which is why I'm kind of surprised at its commercial success a little bit. Like I'm surprised there weren't more people being kind of almost having the same reaction that people are having to Eternals, where it's like I'm kind of confused and there's a lot of boring talk going on, but they still make it engaging in the Villeneuve version. I just think, yeah, I agree. It probably could ratchet up the weirdness if they really, really wanted to, you know?
Yeah, no, I think you could tell there was a shift in the marketing efforts where they were like, we're going to put out some trailers of just Jason Momoa like fighting in a hallway and then having the little buzzing ships running around, like, you know, like this is a action Star Wars-y sci-fi movie. Like, come see this, you know, because we've got Jason Momoa fist fighting randoms. You know, and then they've got, like, make sure you get Zendaya in there enough, and make sure you get, like, Chalamet, you know what I mean? Zendaya's barely in it.
Well,
you know what I mean?
That's the thing that kind of, like, I would say, if aside from, like, the movie just feeling like half a movie, my other biggest critique is, like, even though it, like, gave this movie some life, like, you could feel the scenes that they had to inject where it's like, oh, we're going to have Timothée Chalamet, like, you know, have a flash forward, a premonition of when he's really badass at the end of the next movie, but you know, we need to do that. We need to do something so we can throw a cool action scene into a trailer, because like, you know,
that was so weird. Where he's like
got the armor
he's like a Power Ranger or something. Yeah, you know. And I was like, what is this? What are you doing?
And that's the other thing, is like this movie kind of ends at a weird spot because it's the half. Like, once again, I'm sure whenever the second one comes out in retrospect, it'll be fine because people will just view it as one item the way everyone views the Lord of the Rings now. But it is weird that it's just like, okay, he fought a dude, he like stabbed a guy, the end. Like, you know.
Yeah, no, it feels weird. I don't know. Maybe people see the first half. They see this one. Like, if this was your only, and I'm sure for millions of people or whatever, this is gonna be the first introduction you have to the whole thing. And I'm wondering, like, did this movie do enough to intrigue you to like go read the 37 novels or some shit? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
It'll probably get more people in, because it seems like a lot of people dug it, and even if it's not like, you know, like it has a lot. If anything, like, I think things that were maybe considered way nerdier, you know, 50 years ago are now pretty mainstream. So like in a post like Game of Thrones or whatever world, or Marvel, like people are like, what? There's like 10 books and like each one has an index full of terms and backstory that I have to read up on. Like, sign me up. So there might be, this might actually even like probably get a whole new generation of kids into Dune. So seems like it's paying off.
I mean, I hope so.
Yeah.
Bring back the frigging Sci-Fi Channel's version. I think that's the definitive version for me. You know what I mean? Have you ever seen that? It's like 2000, 2001, 2002.
I do remember clicking
the
by
Sci-Fi Channel.
Yeah, seeing it for like 5 minutes at 3 a.m. when I was like in high school.
Hell yeah.
It looked more like,
that's the best version.
It reminded me of Krull. Like, it looks like other sci-fi of that era kind of movies, right?
Yeah, that sounds right. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's a lot, man. You know what I mean? It's a lot, and you know, it had all the grandeur of Villeneuve. You know what I mean? I appreciate it. It was great. You went out and you got a hell of a cast.
I mean, the dude is always on point with all of his casting, and I gotta admit, it's pretty perfect. The roles seem like they work pretty perfectly here, and you kind of need a strong cast, because that's the other thing I kind of struggled with when I was reading the book, is there's so many characters, and it's kind of
so many characters.
It's like the opposite of the type of fiction I like to read, where there's a million characters and there's not a lot of stuff that you're familiar with to latch onto, so it feels like you're like memorizing all these names for a test. But like, having a big cast of recognizable characters, I think, will actually help me go back and read the book, because like a lot of these characters, you know, even if they don't have a ton of screen time, they kind of you have to be able to get their gist pretty quickly, and I think all of them do that pretty well, including Zendaya. Like, you know, you kind of get who they are, and all their characters feel pretty lived in. I don't think anyone was really lacking. Like, I even like the kind of supporting characters. Like, there's the one dude, I forgot the actor's name, but he was the dude who was Polka Dot Man in the Suicide Squad Did you see Suicide Squad?
Yes,
Yeah.
I know who you're talking about.
The guy that's the Harkonnen Mentat, however you pronounce it. But like the guys that are kind of like the vizier, or like, you know, the kind of person that reports to the king or whatever. The guys that do the weird eyeballs flip up.
Yeah, is David Melchin or whatever his name is? He's been in a lot of weird stuff.
Even that, like having like this movie's definitely like stock full of like pretty solid character actors throughout.
They went out. Charlotte Rampling is just covered up with a sheet. They were like, cover her ass up.
She looks so like perfect. I mean, like that seems like I could just see her, you know, maybe not wearing that outfit, but kind of just totally having that same demeanor, like giving people interviews at TIFF or something like that. I'll only answer this question if you stick your hand in this box. You know,
in this box, Spain. But like Bardem is, you know, Javier Bardem as like a nothing. I mean, he's going to have a much bigger role.
Yeah.
You know, in the sequel. But I mean, you know, I don't know. Batista, like, pretty small role for Batista.
Batista is, and apparently is going to have an like I assume that's the thing, is it's also kind of hard to critique the Villeneuve movie because it's like you're watching a work in progress. So, you know, like the things that stand out the most are things that might be remedied, you know, come the next part. So yeah, but like I totally agree. Like the more aesthetic tonal issues are a little bit like it's maybe the thing that I respect it for is also the thing that is kind of its flaw, which is that it does not give a fuck about you. It's doing it its own way, and that's kind of how Villeneuve does it. Like, I mean, Blade Runner was kind of the same thing. It took a bunch of risks that like people would either be on board with or wouldn't be, and you know, that movie bombed, so I guess a lot of people weren't on board with it. So I respect him for doing his thing. You know, there are specific flaws with it, but you know, he pulled it off. So like that the feat of finishing it is in and of itself something that is an achievement. So I just am kind of curious where he goes from here. I know he has said that he might want to do Dune Messiah, which would probably make sense. But like after you do that, like, you know, you just did your Star Wars. Like, what's and he's so prolific. Like, what's his next project?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, they're saying Dune's budget was 165.
That seems
low.
That seems really
for
low.
What? I mean, because
I assumed $2 million.
I was looking around at the different budgets. Red Notice's budget $200 million.
But probably 100 of that is just those 3 stars.
Absolutely. Well, at least I think because Dwayne Johnson and Gal Gadot both made like $20 million, and I don't know what Ryan Reynolds made.
Even that seems kind of low for them. You know, like that's.
You think so?
Yeah, I mean, like I don't know. That's not like a blockbuster, especially since it's going right to Netflix. But I don't know, man. Like it's like I feel like 20 million is like, especially when you look at like the Scarlett Johansson lawsuits, like. It sounds like 20 million should be baseline with contracts and then back end points added to that. So if it's going right to Netflix, I would almost expect 30 or something like that. You know, like if they're not getting that back end point thing to sweeten the deal. But I, once again, don't know how it actually works specifically.
And there was like a huge bidding war over this. I think Universal won, and then it went to Netflix eventually because I think Netflix was like, well, you guys want to sit on it, or do you want to, you know what I mean? Like, we'll figure it out and just put it out. But yeah, that was originally kind of how it went. I think it went through this big bidding.
It seems like it's like tailor made for Netflix. Like it seems like
it's a great Netflix movie. It's a great nothing movie.
A good sit, right?
Did you see this? Did you watch it? Oh, it's only been out for a day.
It looks like it's like generic action movie. The movie.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's got a little bit of everything. You know what it is? It's like, I don't know why it was this expensive other than paying the cast, but you've got it's like a buddy action film. It's got some kind of a little bit of like some kind of hints of romance and stuff like that. It's got it's got 3 pretty big movie stars right now. But really, I mean, it's a very simple movie. I don't know why I was blown away by it. Doesn't have insane set pieces, doesn't have huge action scenes. It's got like one big action scene. A lot of it is just shot in a lot of it is just sound studio stuff. Like I'm like, where did 200 million?
Oh Jesus. Yeah, I mean, is there anything in the script that like screams at like this would have attracted theoretically the 3 biggest stars of our current era?
No, it's like it's just our version. It's like a better, I don't know if it's a better version. It's not as good. I'll say it's a worse version than National Treasure with the GOAT, Nicolas Cage.
Oh, I think it's a worse version just because it doesn't have Nicolas Cage in it, right? Because
Absolutely.
it makes everything better.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're not trying to steal the Declaration of Independence in this one. They're just stealing MacGuffin.
I mean, honestly, that
You know what I mean?
actually, you kind of nailed it, because this sounds like the exact sort of project that you hire a Nicolas Cage. Like, once again, he is worth $20 million because he'll make your unwatchable movie at least, like, barely worth watching, you know, because something interesting is going to happen. But the thing is, like, you know what to expect from a Ryan Reynolds or a Rock. You know what I mean? Like, they kind of have their same shtick every time. And Gal Gadot, I don't even know. Does she do anything?
No, I mean, you know, I don't want to sound like I'm crazy or whatever. And my Salma Hayek, I stand by that. but they went out. I mean, these are 3 more people, and maybe we're slowly discovering the success of Hollywood is just be the same person over and over again. I don't know. Is that it? Because Ryan Reynolds, The Rock, you're talking about, and Gal Gadot, you're talking about range. Gal Gadot is not one that pops up in my mind. The Rock is certainly not. Is the secret to success in Hollywood just being basically as one note as possible, so that you're consistent?
Well, I think people don't. It depends, because like certain actors, maybe like you're like, oh yeah, I want to see the next Daniel Day-Lewis performance or whatever. But like, yeah, like certain actors get paid to do that. But I think there's like certain people that it's almost like doing something different will probably maybe not negatively affect their career, but it just won't even get picked up or whatever. Like, but yeah, like you're almost expected to have a personality in certain things. Like, and it's like you have your limited realm of things that you're known for, and you kind of have to travel within. Like, I guess somebody that's probably successful with that is like one of the better examples is, say, Seth Rogen. Like, Seth Rogen has a very specific like style, and you kind of know what you get out of a lot of Seth Rogen movies, but he's come up with quite a wide variety of material, and he's actually pretty, especially since he's involved in the writing and producing a lot of those things, like he can deliver a Seth Rogen product without actually being in it, which is interesting. So it's almost like a seal of quality. Yeah.
I mean, it certainly made that Weird Pickle movie.
Yeah. I mean, that totally fits. But like, once again, like you almost need to do that because he's one of the few stars, even at his level in Hollywood, that can get the Weird Pickle movie made. Yeah, it's like you kind of almost have to work within those constraints, because people almost don't want things that are new and different. Like it.
Oh, no,
as much as people complain and say they do, like usually, like whenever anyone tries something weird, it's just like the weird shit takes a while to kind of like cross over to the mainstream, and by then it's usually kind of like diluted and stuff. So
yeah, well, this is an original story. It's getting shit on right now by critics. I think it's less than 40% right now, I think, on Rotten Tomatoes. But apparently, it's doing incredibly well. People are watching it. No one cares.
I mean, it's like, is Netflix doing that thing that they always do where they're like, it's broken all the records?
So I don't know. I mean, I'm sure Netflix has some metrics. Otherwise, they wouldn't be spending 200, all this crazy money on movies if it wasn't working somehow. I wish I understood how they figured that out.
I don't understand how companies make money from the streaming model. Like, I don't understand where the incentive to continue making $300 million movies comes from, because people are going to be streaming regardless, right? Whether you spend $500 million on the next big tentpole, like Apple. Like, are you getting that? I don't know. Like. I understand like getting new subscribers, that works, but like I don't know how much that helps people retain. I don't know. It's I'm sure somebody out there If somebody out there knows, they should totally comment because I'd be interested.
Drop a comment if you're an executive at Netflix
Exactly.
and you're listening to this. Drop a comment below. Let us know what your metrics are showing that warrant that kind of a budget for something. When Netflix holds, I don't know, what percentage of the market share of streaming customers count Netflix as something, right?
Like half.
So imagine just what? Yeah. So like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Is this? Was I about to cancel Netflix because if this thing doesn't come out? No.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean,
You know what I mean? So
when certain things become like, it's like your Netflix subscription is almost like your water bill. Like it's like, oh yeah, this is just a thing that it's like a utility. Everyone has this thing, but you
got to pay your OnlyFans. You got to pay your Netflix.
the essentials.
You know, rent, food. Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean?
So yeah, I'm very curious, and I understand like to a degree, like they have to keep doing things so they're relevant enough so that they can maintain that status. But at a certain point, it just kind of feels like they're burning money. I almost wonder if there's got to be like some sort of like tax loophole, or maybe because they're still qualified as quote unquote new media, like it's
You think so? You think that's it?
I don't know.
What I want to hear is, what did they tell Leonardo DiCaprio? What did they tell Leo for the movie? Is it Don't Look Up? What is that movie called?
Don't Look Up.
What did they tell Leo? Because Leo doesn't give a shit about streaming metrics.
I mean,
he's like as Hollywood gets. What did they tell Leo, or did they just write the check and they just kept writing zeros?
I don't know if that's going back to, I think that's probably a similar deal to Red Notice, where I don't know if the movie got sold to Netflix until it was in post, or like it was actually I don't know if it came out as a Netflix.
Could be. Because it's Adam McKay, right? So
and it's got like every fucking celebrity under the sun in it, apparently.
Oh, do you think that's the worst? Yeah, like when Leo gets told, "Hey, bud, we're going to Netflix."
That's the death knell of theaters.
Do you think he's just like, God damn it, not again? You know what I mean? Because how does that? You know what I mean? I don't know how that works on the back end with the money. Because at Leo, like anything Leo gets, he's probably producing.
Oh yeah, good point. Yeah, he definitely.
Maybe he just doesn't care anymore.
I think he did produce it. Yeah, you're probably right. So he probably has some money tied.
So
into it. I don't know. I mean,
yeah, he's got to be.
I assume Netflix. Like once again, I don't know how the math works on that, and I wonder. Oh God, I would pay so much money to just sit in on one of those meetings, like just to like be a fly in the wall to hear how the financials work, because you're basically crunching. Will this movie make more money in its theatrical run and then I guess you don't even have to factor in, like, there's DVD sales, but I bet you that's such a small, like, or like Apple, like I bought this on streaming kind of things, like, but that's still probably so inconsequential compared to just the overall streaming deal. So yeah, streaming is just everything.
I wonder, like, does he just because he's in it for prestige pieces. He's really in only anything that he could. Like, he doesn't do commercial stuff. Like, he doesn't. Or everything is commercial because he's in it, but he doesn't
anything
do
he's in it is
things
probably
that
got to qualify for the Oscars, right?
That's what I'm saying. So, like, does he care necessarily? Because he thinks his chances. I guarantee you, they think, like, straight to Netflix movie is not really gonna get the same Oscar shake.
I don't know.
Even though all the critics have Netflix.
Yeah,
now.
I feel like that's.
But I feel like it's like a weird sheen.
It does definitely. It does make it like a little. It takes a little bit of the bloom off the rose. It's like a little less. Just like it with anything. It's like, oh, if it's available on Netflix, it feels a little less special or something. But as
did No Man Land go straight to Hulu and it won the Oscar?
Yeah, so exactly. I think I feel like
it can be done.
It can be done, and once again, theoretically, you could blame it on the pandemic for that sort of shit. But I feel like, especially now that the seal
blame everything on COVID.
But now that the seal is broken, I don't think Pandora's going to go back in the box. And if you look, a lot of the Oscar contenders are already coming out on Netflix and whatnot. And just having HBO Max, like being able to watch a lot of the things that are in theaters on streaming anyways, like it's really like the theatrical window is only becoming like 6 weeks tops these days anyways,
or less. Yeah, like if you're good on that one, let's talk about a little movie that's really having a hard time. It's called Last Night in Soho.
Oh, I did not
from your boy.
See it. Yeah.
Well, it doesn't matter.
Did you see it?
Edgar. Well, your $15 are not going to save this movie.
Man, is it not doing
but
well?
no one's going to see it. It is not.
I feel guilty because I've been saying for the last 3 days that I wanted to go out to see it, but that's a shame because you'd think Anna Taylor-Joy.
Now his children won't eat. You know what I mean? I'm licking my finger, sticking it in the air, and I'm figuring out which way the wind's blowing. You know what I mean? And Anya Taylor-Joy is going to be the next one.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah,
you know
I mean it's.
A lot of people are talking about Millie Bobby Brown.
No.
Is it what's her name? I don't know. The 11 from Stranger Things.
Yeah. Now, Anna Taylor-Joy is already like on. If you're just looking at also output, also granted, I think Anya Taylor-Joy is like 23 or 24 or something, and 11 is still like a teenager.
The other girl is like 15
so but like she's just come out of the gate. Like how many like solid fucking movies has she had since she was like 19 or something, like, like starting with The Witch. Like what?
The Witch, I think the first time I saw her, I think, is The Witch.
Yeah.
I think with most people, and then even like Thoroughbreds.
We've done a lot of reviews of her movies on here.
Dude, I don't know what it is. She picks a lot of projects that we enjoy,
projects.
or do we enjoy them because we enjoy her? I don't know.
We tend to like projects that involve. I think people cast her not only because she's a great actress, but she has a very distinctive alien kind of look that
She sure does. Remember Splice when she was an alien?
No, she wasn't in Splice.
Yeah, she was.
No, was she? She wasn't the alien.
Yeah, dude, she's the alien little like Splice girl.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not kidding you, bro.
Hold on.
Use that fucking Google machine you got.
I know
I'm pretty sure she's the Splice alien.
I know she was in another movie that Ridley Scott.
Her like perfectly bulbous forehead.
What? I'm telling you, it's somebody else.
Pull up her IMDb, bro.
And,
Google that Splice with that weird tail she's got, and then there's a whole scene where she's like trying to seduce a guy, and the guy tries to forget for a second.
Of the movie Morgan, because she had another movie that she played a little girl that was like genetically engineered or something like that. And also, yes, the girl from Splice is Daphne Chenock.
Am I wrong? Is that possible?
I think they just put a lot of prosthetics on another actress.
Are you serious?
Yeah, but that's the thing is like you would think.
Am I confusing it? Yeah, hold on a second. I really do apologize.
It's all. I mean, it.
Don't worry. I'll leave it in. I'll cut it out.
But it totally speaks to her look, though. Yeah, like she looks like she would totally be able to play weird alien mutant baby. And I mean that in the most positive way possible.
You're right, dude. Yep. But can totally confuse them.
But she was totally in another movie around the same time that was almost the exact same plot. It's
the same plot, but like less alien.
Yeah. And I've never seen it. I heard it's like I never saw it because it did not get great reviews, and I never got around to it.
It did not, but I've seen it. But she's bald in it, right?
Or something. She's got some weird outfit or something. I remember the marketing for that movie when it came out was like, I think it was like one of those movies where like you could vote to choose on the ending or something. Like they had some crazy thing with like.
That's how you know it's good.
Yeah. when they have no idea how they want to end the film, you choose the adventure movie. Right.
What they should have done is just put Anya Taylor-Joy in Splice and then just call it a day.
Yeah. I mean, Splice 2.
What else am I thinking of? Split? You know what I mean?
Split. So yeah, and she totally forgot about that.
Why didn't you go see this? Edgar Wright's children are starving.
Yeah, so especially once again, theater support. I just didn't get around to it this weekend, and I wanted to go last weekend, and I just got.
Well, I hope he gets to make another movie. Well,
I know it's not getting fantastic reviews either. I know it's getting like good reviews, but it's not like the same universal love that like Baby Driver kind of received. And I've been trying to like also kind of go in Unsullied too, because I don't want to know specifics and try not to read too many reviews because you don't want that to kind of tamper your own perspective. But that's a shame. But whatever. Like it's everyone's. Dude's pretty much had pretty solid films. Like, I don't think he's had. I suppose The World's End might not have been as successful as.
What was the police one? The police one is my least favorite.
Oh, Hot Fuzz.
Yeah, man, people love Hot
I
Fuzz.
think we saw Hot Fuzz when we were in like high school together.
Did we see it together? Yeah. That tracks.
I have not actually seen that one. That's probably the one of his films that I've seen the least. So I gotta.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah, it is kind of weird. Like ever since him and Simon Pegg kind of stopped working together, it is kind of like. It was strange because, like, you never really got that taste of Edgar Wright without, granted, I think Edgar Wright, like, obviously was, like, responsible for so much of the personality and, like, yeah, he's, like, one of the best filmmakers out there. But, like, Simon Pegg's writing was a pretty integral part to, like, a lot of the charm of the Dornetto trilogy. And then, same thing for Scott Pilgrim. Like, he had fantastic source material that he was working from. So, like, whenever he's paired well with that great source material, he's going to do great. But, like, Baby Driver and this are really the first forays he's done without other source material. And I really loved Baby Driver, but I also think it kind of had some flaws and everything like that. So I almost kind of wonder... There are certain things sometimes where, like, he's a little bit better of a visualist sometimes than he is a
writer.
Yeah, well, I don't always want to say that because
overall director.
He is a really good writer. Like all of his stuff is very clever and humorous, and there's a lot of great wordplay. But yeah, his strength still feels like it leans towards the visuals, and sometimes I think maybe he'll do things purely in service of visuals, maybe. So maybe I'm once again, I'm basing this on nothing because I need to still see the movie. But yeah, maybe like this movie seemed like the only thing I really knew about it is like, oh, this is kind of his homage to kind of like early Polanski type of that very specific 60s thriller vibe, and maybe a little bit of Hitchcock in there or something like that, or Persona. I heard it's kind of got a little bit of a Persona thing, or Rosemary's Baby, all that sort of stuff, so it seems very intriguing, but also it also seems like more of like a Twilight Zone plot. Like I could see it being something that might be a good plot for like maybe an hour-long anthology show rather than a movie, but I have to give it a fair shake, so I'm gonna stop talking out of my ass and pretending that I have actually seen this movie.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, it's interesting because it's not I mean, it's not bad. I enjoyed it. I mean, I think it's tracking at like 75% or something, kind of low for what you think an Edgar Wright movie, would do with two female leads and everything, and whatever. But really interesting, really good performances. Like the chick from Jojo Rabbit, Thomasin McKenzie, really good. Anya Taylor-Joy, a very like I think she's everywhere in the marketing. You know what I mean?
She's not the main character, really, right? She's kind of...
She is not the main character. Yeah. So she's... It's an interesting... I'll get into the plot a little bit. I don't want to get too crazy, but basically what a young girl... This is a very... You know what it reminded me of a lot? It's supposed to be kind of a horror thriller, interesting, kind of like a genre mixing, weird kind of movie. It was like... a lot of Argento, a lot of like Suspiria kind of vibes,
Giallo
like some
kind of films.
Yeah, man. And so I think they even like Edgar Wright was like, "Oh, I took," or Dario Argento came and saw my movie with his crazy daughter. What's her name? Aria Argento. Asia Argento. They like did a photo like on Instagram or something where they were all watching it or something. But I was like, this has a lot of Suspiria vibes where it's like. A young girl moves to a new city to do like an artsy college-y education type thing, and she kind of like doesn't fit in super well with her peers, and like I was like, oh god, here we go. Like that's a lot of good horror trope shit. You know what I mean? So
and it seems like it's a simple plot, right? Like it's like
I wish it were a little more simple.
Really?
It gets a little weird out there. So anyway, like just a very basic introductory plot. This girl moves from the countryside. She wants to study fashion. She moves to London. She moves to, I guess she's living in Soho, which let me just say this. Have you been to Soho? You've been to London.
Yeah, I've been to Soho a couple times.
Okay. I went for like a week a couple years ago, and I stayed in Soho, and I don't know why you would have any sort of college student. That's like saying like my college is Times Square in New York. You know what I mean? Like what the fuck? Like that doesn't make any sense. So you know what I mean? It's like a weird like setting and neighborhood or whatever. I don't know. But anyway, we're led to believe this college girl is living in this incredibly expensive neighborhood. She doesn't like her roommates at her college dorm, which is preposterous to think that she would even be in a dorm room setting in this insane neighborhood. You
How
know what
much
I mean?
is
Be like
rent
Chelsea.
there?
Oh, and then she's like, well, I don't like my roommate, so like I'm going to go get an apartment. So she finds like an apartment, and she's like, oh, I don't really have a job, but like I can afford it. And I'm like, what kind of insanity
You immediately lose me.
is
with
this? Yeah, I'm like, lady, I lived in New York. Like I lived, you know what I mean? Like I'm in California. Like I've been to London. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's hard to believe this girl, college student without a job, an 18-year-old chick from the country is like, oh, how much is it? It's 400 shekels a month or whatever. You know what I mean? I don't know what they're doing over there with the Queen's, how many shekels or pounds sterling or whatever they got going on over there. I can't remember that goofy money.
Yeah.
I just try to use cards everywhere, but I've never been so obnoxiously, insanely drunk probably as I've been in London.
And then trying to figure out money when you're wasted in London.
I remember trying to buy, so London, you racist piece of shit city. I mean, I was with my black friend trying to get a cab, couldn't get a cab. It's Halloween. No one will pick us up. It's the middle of the night. We're in London. No cab will pick us up because I'm with my presumably, you know what I mean, giant black friend, and we won't get picked up. So we're trying to we're drunk. We're trying to use the coinage to buy like a Metro Tube pass or some nonsense, trying to get back to the W Hotel where we were staying. It's like this insane hotel. But yeah, you know what I mean? Good times in Soho. It's just it's a weird thing. I mean, I know there's those insanely weird colleges like Fashion Institute of New York.
How the fuck anyone would afford that there unless you have like super rich parents? Do they go into that? Is she like on a scholarship?
No, she doesn't. She has she's like living with her grandma. Okay. You know what I mean? So anyway, I don't want to nitpick, but so she moves into this apartment room and starts having visions where she's like, I go to sleep and then I wake up and then I leave my room and then I'm transported back into the 60s as this girl. And it's confusing at times because in some circumstances she is Anya Taylor-Joy. It's like she's wearing an avatar where she's transported and she's acting out as Anya Taylor-Joy. And then there's other moments where she's removed and she's a bystander and she's watching Anya Taylor-Joy. And so it's kind of confusing as it goes back and forth of like, are you Anya Taylor-Joy right now or not? And then she goes out. Yeah. Like, what am I? Are you controlling what's happening? Are you reliving things? You know what I mean? So that's kind of the plot. The plot is just kind of her. She romanticizes this time of, 1960s London and the music and all that great stuff. And then she kind of gets transported back into that time and realizes like, oh, you know what? Like, it's not that great. There's a lot of bad things that happen to lovely young women in London in the 1960s who want to be in the entertainment business. You know what I mean? So it turns into kind of a
horror movie.
Kind of like a horror movie where it goes into like a little bit of Nightmare on Elm Street of like, I can't sleep at night. I can't fall asleep because I'm just transported into
so
this,
like anytime she falls
nightmare.
asleep, she immediately goes back to the 60s. Oh,
Yep. And then it starts ramping up from there where she starts kind of seeing things even when she's awake.
And is she going crazy in her personal life? Like, are people like getting weirded out in her classes that she's like not sleeping?
Yep. There's all the classic, and I just recently kind of watched Nightmare on Elm Street, so that's why I mention it. But like, she falls asleep in class and then she starts screaming in class. Oh my God, you know what I mean? Freddy Krueger. Like they do all the same things that you've seen a million times in other horror movies with teenagers and stuff like that. You know, what's the matter? No one believes you. Oh, you're just tired. Oh, you're stressed out. Oh, you're sick. You need to relax. And then like, you know, it just, I don't know. It just ramps up from there. So I mean, like I've heard some of the same complaints. Like they use certain. I mean, he uses some weird kind of ghostly imaging and horror elements that really come off as weird and lame and like overused. There's some cool plot twists and turns and things like that. But yeah, it's weird. I think it overall it's a satisfying kind of ending and conclusion. You're like, wow, that's an interesting take on kind of how it all works and everything. But yeah, I think you can kind of understand why maybe people aren't enjoying it or going out to see it, or they don't know what to make of it, or they don't know that it was like, I don't know how movie marketing works, because I would think
it's
if you're an Anya Taylor-Joy fan, this is your movie, my man.
Oh, it is?
Go out and yeah.
Well, I know they released something that was like essentially like a music video commercial for the movie where it was just her singing. Like it was like a 4-minute video of her singing in the club. So I think they are trying to lean on it. But yeah, I also definitely get the impression that the marketers didn't know what to make of it. And it might... I'd say the best case scenario for a movie like this is probably to eventually get a cult following. But it does kind of suck because, it's probably going to be like, well, Edgar Wright, that's the last shot you're going to get to do something that weird and specific for a little while.
And it's weird because I think he's like, I was reading, he came up with this idea originally in like 2007 or something.
Oh, wow. So
like he's known like what he kind of wanted to do, and then he worked on it. I think in 2016 he was working on it. So I mean, it goes back. It's not like it's he's had it like churning.
Well,
you know what I mean? But I was kind of surprised that you know the third act is kind of just a little wonky.
Yeah, I mean, because that's the one thing I'd be curious to see out of him is he's such a knowledgeable and such a talented, from a technical perspective, filmmaker. I kind of want to see what all these like other things like the non-Shaun of the Dead or Scott Pilgrim related projects that he's had, like even if it's a failure or whatever, I want to see him reaching, and maybe this is like him once again like getting to kind of do something a little different, something that he's interested in, like those like Repulsion era Polanski type of movies, but maybe this is an opportunity for him to kind of try doing that style of filmmaking, which is something he's never gotten to do. You know, that's the thing, is like I like to see filmmakers stretch even if it's not successful. So I hope he continues being able to do something else. Like I hope, I've heard that he has had a script for Baby Driver 2 in the can for a while.
I'm sure that,
but like
now he has no leverage, but else.
I hope he gets one more, because he's got pretty good street cred as far as filmmaking goes. So usually, like I said, he's also a male filmmaker, so usually you get like another bite at the apple after you've had one failure. So I bet you he'll get one more project to do whatever he wants, and he'll probably try to make that one slightly more commercial. And if that doesn't work, then it's Baby Driver 2 or fucking Shaun of the Dead 5 or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully it won't come to that.
All right. Absolutely. Yeah. I saw it because I'm an American, man. You know what I mean? You got to support those proud American franchises.
I mean, you're a Bond head from way back, right? Like
Nah. I wouldn't describe myself as too big into Bond. You know what I mean? I enjoy a good Bond.
Okay. Yeah,
you know
yeah. I mean, there's nothing wrong with a good Bond, right?
I mean, Bond only comes out every leap year now.
Mm.
You know, did we go 2005, 2000? Okay, we did one in 2015, 2005.
There was one in
2021. So I mean, like every 6 years.
Yeah, yeah.
You can't squeeze in a couple hours to go see a Bond?
I mean, I wanted. It's like
163-minute runtime.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to admit it, but so here's the thing: is like I've been for something like the Edgar Wright movie, like I want to go see that in theaters, but for a Bond movie or whatever Marvel movie or whatever, I'm totally fine doing VOD for those. Like I don't feel any obligation to like support So basically, whenever that Bond comes on VOD or something, I'll probably give it a shot then. But that same sort of thing, like I like James Bond stuff, but there's a lot of the classic ones I haven't seen and everything. So I'm not as like I immediately need to see it. But like I like Kerry Kunji Fukunaga and Ana de Armas, and everything that's associated with this movie seemed interesting. And I've seen most of the Daniel Craig ones, so I know enough to like go into this one, but yeah, what did you think? I feel like there's been so much fucking build up with this movie since it got delayed so many times. Like, lest we forget, Tenet was supposed to come out after this movie came out. So how long ago was that? Like,
I mean, I think they made this movie in like
2019.
What was it? Was it supposed to come out in 2019?
They were probably
development began in 2016. All right.
And they were probably doing post on it in like 2019 because it was supposed to come out in early 2020. Like it was one of the first.
Let's see. Principal photography took place April to October 2019.
Wow.
Not a super timely. You know what I mean? It's a weird one because I wouldn't have wanted to release a toxic poison gas movie.
Oh, is
you know
that
what I mean?
the big
freaking
world threat or whatever?
Yeah,
geez.
it was like a airborne virus disease movie. So it's like probably not the best one to release in COVID. Yep. But on the plus side, Ana de Armas is in it.
Exactly.
You know
I mean,
well, there you go. So I love how you're like, I like the director and Ana de Armas, and I'm like, hot take.
Was she? Was her fake relationship with Ben Affleck worth it for the publicity for this movie?
Oh, I don't know. Was it fake?
I don't know.
That the whole
That's
thing?
probably what I say to make myself feel better because I'm jealous. But yeah,
she's great.
Yeah, she seems like a perfect.
Yeah, she's
Bond
only
girl.
in it for 10
Oh,
minutes.
she's only in it for.
She's about 7 minutes.
Really? Is she not the main
That's
Bond
it.
girl?
No.
Oh no.
She's not. So you're stuck watching the other incredibly beautiful foreign woman, Leia Seydoux, from Blue is the Warmest Color. Are you familiar?
I never actually saw that, but
well, no one's seen it, but
I'm familiar with
you know
it.
why
Yeah,
it's famous.
yeah. I've seen the
we've all
on Netflix.
you've scrolled through Reddit
Yes,
once.
yes.
Yeah, you've seen it. Right. Anyway, kids, don't what I mean? If you're a big fan of Leia Seydoux,
so
she's in this.
Is how about the movie itself? Like just overall, what do you think?
I thought, listen, it's the best one. I want to say it's probably my favorite since Casino Royale because of it. It has great action in it. It's very climactic.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's
a good finisher for the series, right? Yeah.
It's it. Yeah, yeah. It's a great way to kind of tie up the whole thing. I enjoyed it.
Cool.
It. You know what I mean? I don't have I'm not I'm not the biggest, most crazy Bond fan, but in this, I don't know how I feel honestly about the whole Daniel Craig run. I like Daniel Craig. I think he did a great job. He's a great Bond. Right. Is it serialized or non-serialized?
Oh, it's serialized because they continue.
It's serialized,
they're
right?
continuing
Yes.
a story, which is the opposite of how they're trying to fucking Marvelize Bond, right? Yeah.
Yes. Right. So if you do not see the fourth one or the third one or whatever, you don't know what the hell's going on. I was trying to explain this to my dad. My dad's like, yeah, we're thinking about going to the James Bond. I'm like, did you see like the other four? And I was like, because if you don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
If you do not see every preceding film in the series, you do not understand. This is not like a James Bond, like where you can leap and jump from this to that, whatever. No. So if you do not, if you don't know who Leia Seydoux is, and you don't know Jeffrey Wright's character, and you don't know like all the other bad guys, and you don't know why Ralph Fiennes is being a dick, and you don't know, you know what I mean, like, then it's kind of hard. It's hard to follow. You know what I mean? So like, I think if you were, I tried to kind of like find all of them because it was so annoying. Like Casino Royale is on Amazon Prime, and then Spectre or Spectre's on this thing, and then Quantum of Solace is on TNT or some shit. You know what I mean? So like, I'm leaping and jumping from different services trying to get a patchwork memory of what the hell's going on. But it's
does it
fine.
feel worth it when you do have the full story? Because the one thing is like, even though I like it, like the James Bond format is kind of like it's like people giving long exposition that's like nothing but MacGuffins. It's all just like this is a bunch of bullshit that's our excuse to put this like cool set piece into motion kind of thing. So I think some people go into James Bond movies like almost with that attitude where like, I'm gonna, like if your aunt,
people are talking, I'm gonna turn off
like I'm just gonna look at my cell phone or something like that while they're in the meeting room. But I know Tom Cruise is gonna jump out of a plane, or that's definitely how I view the Mission Impossible movies. Once again, I haven't seen the latest one, but like the plot in those is like such a afterthought. Like even though somebody's thought it out, it's so complicated that I always kind of turn my brain off to a degree at those points. So, and is it kind of like that with James Bond?
Absolutely. I'm not ashamed to admit that growing up, I could never follow a James Bond 100%. Movie. I could never understand what's happening. I'm like, even like GoldenEye, or you know what I mean, The World's Not Enough, or one of the other ones, or the Sean Connery era. I could never just sit there and understand what's happening.
Yeah.
I never understood the motivations. I never understood the scheme. It would be like James Bond in an office in London getting an explanation about where he's supposed to go next, and then smash cut. He's on like the beach having a drink with a parasail in it or whatever, and he's talking to some hot bartender.
And
I just couldn't.
Somebody says something about like bonds and like oil wells in Libya or something. Like there's all this stuff that and like when you're a kid you're like, oh, they're just talking adult stuff, and when you're an adult it's just like, I know that this stuff is real. It sounds correct, but my brain is not actually processing whatever they're saying because it's superfluous, right?
Right. I think now is the only time that I even vaguely was able to kind of remember some of this stuff, because I was like, I never remember the characters' names.
Right.
I know James Bond. I know Q. I know Moneypenny. I know M. And then they're like, Mr. White, do you remember Falsod, or do you remember all the villains and this guy and that guy? And they're mentioning them, and I'm like, was that the guy from the Pusher series that I can't remember his name of, or is
Mads
that
Mikkelsen? Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't remember, dude.
Oh yeah,
you know
that's the one thing that sucks is because the James Bond series never used to do that, right? Like even if he ran into a villain that he has run into before, like rarely do the plots connect. It's just like
right. And this is the first run, I think, where it's like Christoph Waltz is in this one and that one, and he's like this guy, and
that's the thing everyone was kind of ragging on the last one about, because that's the first one that really started doing the thing you're talking about, where you have to have seen, like the last one was the one where they're like, Christoph Waltz was actually behind everything the whole time,
Exactly, right. And which one had Javier Bardem?
The one before that,
which
was
the was Quantum of Solace or Spectre?
No, it's what's the one that had the Adele song in it?
Is that Skyfall?
Yeah. Okay,
yeah. Skyfall is the one with Javier Bardem. I think,
and that was the one.
Okay.
I think that's the one after Casino Royale that people kind of tend to like more. Some people hate it. I think
there's one. I think Quantum of Solace is the most hated.
Yeah, because that's the second.
Because that's the one where they're just in the desert, where they're like, they're in like an African desert, and they're we've got the water rights.
Yeah, I haven't not actually.
Holy shit!
I just remember that's the one where they accidentally destroyed the Aston Martin. That was the big piece of press that was going around, was somebody was driving the Aston Martin that they were using for the film and somehow crashed it into a lake, and it was like a $200 million car or something insane like that. Like it was like, but that's the only piece of press. Like I never actually saw the movie. But, my question too is like, where do you think the series is going to go from here?
I don't know, but I hope the future is female, my man.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be into doing
you're gonna
whatever, change it up. I still think getting goddamn.
Are you gonna say Idris Elba, or are you gonna say
Idris Elba would be great?
Idris Elba.
He's getting kind of old.
He's too old. I'd love to see it. Man, he's old. And then, damn, what are you gonna try to do? Like, you need a 15-year run out of a Bond.
Yeah.
I just don't see it, my man.
So Idris Elba's. So I thought I heard something like a year ago. I thought there was a rumor going around that Cillian Murphy got it, and I was like, I guess I could see that, but not. He's not top of my list. But I thought I thought I heard some sort of confirmation that like, oh, he got the part, and clearly that must have not been true because I don't think that's the case.
I don't think he's not.
He doesn't do anything.
I don't know if he's got it.
He doesn't scream Bond.
He's not action starry enough for me. I haven't seen. I don't know. Like did I miss that season of Peaky Blinders? Maybe like I don't know.
But I guess that's probably the reason why I was even in the conversation. I don't watch Peaky Blinders either. So.
Well, I fell out of it, but goddamn, I need to get back in. I think Henry Cavill and Tom Hardy are kind of the
front runners.
They're exactly. They're kind of the next.
I would be kind of into. I feel like I don't know Cavill.
Can you imagine trying to negotiate with Tom Hardy on what you want to do?
I have to have at least one lobster tank scene or something. You know.
I don't know if anyone wants to get into that because like I think they've already like the folks at Ion Entertainment or whatever the hell, people that own the IP of James Bond. I mean they offered Daniel Craig before he did this one, they offered him $100 million to do 2 more.
Wow.
And he was like, nah. He was like, nah, I can't do it.
Well,
there was a rumor that was like $150 million.
He was on record. Doesn't he have that quote where he's like, when the last one came out, he was like, if I do want any more of these, it'll just be for the money. I'd rather have shoots put up my fingernails rather than doing.
There's one. He said like at one point I'd rather have my wrist slit than do another James Bond movie, and I'm like,
and you know,
goddamn, bro, $100 million.
I know, yeah. I'm really curious where that's coming from. Like, I do gotta imagine there's got to be so much bullshit you got to put up with. It's the same thing like as when you're Batman or whatever. Anytime you're an iconic kind of public I figure that everyone loves, that's a mantle that gets passed down. I'm sure that there's a lot of pressures that go with it. But it's like, I don't know. I wouldn't want to turn my nose up at $100 million necessarily. He seems like he's like
$100 million to be the coolest guy in the world.
But you know, he's doing great. He's getting paid like $100 million. How much money is he getting paid to do the sequel to Knives Out?
No, not $100 million. My guy.
It's something
There's
insane
no way.
Though. It's like $50 million just for that. Yeah, like look it up. It's like the director and him are
Ryan Johnson is getting $50 million.
Something like
for Knives Out 2?
Like they're each getting paid basically what the budget of the last Knives Out is to do it for it to go straight to Netflix. Like Netflix is paying for them to do the sequels, and I think they're in the can to do 2. So that's not including the next one that they're going to do after that. But yeah, that was trending like a year ago too. So
but he's kind of like a bit part in that. He's not even a huge. It's not even the star. Like it's like. That's
he's
crazy.
Clearly gonna be all right because it's like.
No, he's gonna be fine. He's probably taking less falls.
Yeah.
He's probably not jumping on as many moving trains.
I wonder if that's maybe another thing.
I think that's a big part of it.
Because man, a lot of these people.
You want me to fall from this crane onto what now?
Yeah. I mean, that's how Brendan Fraser got all fucked up. Apparently he insisted on doing all of his own stunts for The Mummy, and apparently that's kind of one of the reasons why he gained all the weight now, because he's like not able to exercise a lot because he's has so many residual injuries from doing the Mummy movies and everything.
I thought it was his like crippling divorce that
maybe
did it.
a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. You know,
that poor bastard. He's getting back out there, but you know what I mean. Like he had one of the worst divorces. Did we talk about his divorce?
I think so. It's vaguely ringing some bells, but that's like didn't he?
He got taken to the cleaners. Poor bastard. He's out there doing Doom Patrol, just trying to pay the bills. You know what I mean? But he's working on Aronofsky's movie, right? He's going to be in The Whale.
He's probably doing the, what's the trick where you melt down Krispy Kremes into liquid form so you can drink it? Like, the fact that he's got a role where he's gain weight. He's good. I'm sure it's all going to be prosthetics. Because, you know what it's about, right?
Yeah, it's about a guy who's stuck to his couch.
Yeah, it's called The Whale, and it's about a guy that's 600 pounds that won't leave his house. So it's kind of like
that sounds about right.
Capitalize. It sounds great. I mean, I'm excited because that sounds like a very Aronofsky movie, and I assume it's just going to be Oscar bait city for him. And yeah, it's so funny how you can kind of really chart actors' trajectory to the Oscars, almost like swells of waves or something like that. Like, it's so easy to see when somebody's like kind of reconnaissancing themselves, and he's like definitely on his way, you know. It's like him and Nicolas Cage, like yeah, you can kind of tell, just like chart the last few movies they've been in and everything. But I'm kind of glad, because he is a good presence, and he's actually kind of nice as like one of those guys that just pops up in a few scenes in a movie. Like, he was in like whatever that Soderbergh movie that just came out was, the no false move, no sudden move, or something like that.
Oh, the one, yeah, it was on HBO Max. That was I think I missed that one. That one came out.
Yeah, it came out a few months ago.
It might have came and went while I was gone.
It came and went, and I think it's back now. I never actually finished it, to be honest, but
it's got Benicio del Toro in it and Don Cheadle. Is that what I'm thinking?
Don Cheadle's first non-Marvel movie in like a while. Oh, aside from Space.
It's good to have him back, but he's a Soderbergh guy.
Oh yeah, totally.
From all the Ocean's movies, he was in Out of Sight, right?
Yeah, great role in Out of Sight.
Was he the
bad guy, the Snoopy, I think?
Yeah, he was like in jail. Yeah,
he
was like
dude.
intimidating the
Yeah, that's one of his early breakout roles and everything. Soderbergh's a great director, man. I kind of forget that sometimes.
Was it Unsane?
Oh yeah, I never saw
the first
that.
one back. You got it.
Yeah, because he does things that are like.
It was like, here's a movie I made on my phone, and you can pick the ending. Yeah, all you got to do is download this app, and then you can. And I made 18 versions of this. Like, every ending is, and I'm like, Soderbergh, what the fuck are you doing?
I kind of like, and it's like weird because it seems like, you know, he's like announced his retirement like 3 times. And then he's like, no, never mind. I'm actually going to do 2 shows. Yeah, never mind. I'm doing an app. Never mind. I'm doing, you know. And
you're a young man,
works so quickly.
It was Mosaic, right? Isn't it Mosaic? Is that what it was called?
Yeah, the Sharon Stone thing. Yeah, I think I downloaded that, and I just never. Because, okay, I should, amend my comment. Steven Soderbergh is great, but sometimes, like, I love, once again, going back to my comment about how I like when auteurs kind of reach and try different things, and that is Soderbergh's thing, if nothing else. Like, he is so able to try different genres and different styles and everything like that on a nothing budget, and like throw a bunch of things at the wall and get results quickly. And I would say he's like successful like 60% of the time. Like, almost for every great project he has like 2 projects no one remembers that are boring as fuck. So I should, like Bubble. I don't think anyone remembers Bubble.
I don't remember Bubble.
There's like a bunch of things that, like, especially like probably closer in the early 2000s or something like that. He was like one of the big first proponents of digital filmmaking. So I think he had a lot of things like like he was one of the first directors to do, we're going to do a theatrical day and date with VOD. I think that was, but it was for a movie nobody cared about, that was going to make $5 anyways. So, but I'm glad he's out there still doing weird stuff like that.
Give me a movie that you've seen recently.
I think I told you I saw Halloween Kills, and yeah, and I actually, like, I know that movie got like horrible Rotten Tomato ratings, but I kind of liked it. I'm not saying it was like fantastic, but and like the thing was, it was cheaper to subscribe to Peacock for a month than to go to the theater and buy a movie ticket. I'm like the worst. I'm like not supporting theaters at all.
So you saw it on Peacock? I saw it on
Peacock, but the thing is, like, since they have the one that came out in 2018 as well, so I was able to watch the original and then the 2018 one and then the Halloween Kills, and honestly it kind of works. The 2018 one and this one feel very much like kind of like one movie, so being able to watch them back to back like that, I feel like you kind of got to pick up on certain things that might get lost, like I think if you had not seen the last one since it was out in theaters, and then you walked into this one. It's kind of like jarring because they, once again, like waste no time like trying to re-explain things to you, and like in fact they're doing a lot of like retconning of things in the previous movie, and it.
In the 2018
yeah,
movie?
like they're kind of like, yeah, they have certain things like, oh, that character you thought was dead, like doing certain things like, oh, we didn't show you this stuff last time, but you know, it basically bringing certain characters that you thought were dead back to life and stuff like that. But the other thing, like the other main complaint I heard people say is like, you know, the pitch of the movie is very much like, kind of like, it pretty much immediately starts with people like screaming and dying, and everyone's kind of like screaming at each other. It's like the whole movie is about the town being panicked and kind of like a mob basically going and chasing Michael Myers around. And it's dumb. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, it's not super smart, and some of the acting is pretty bad. And there's like certain things like it brings a lot of actors back from the original, but like, it is a little ridiculous. It's basically the whole town is still haunted by the Michael Myers attack. And in this universe, this iteration of the Halloween series forgets all of the other sequels to Halloween except for the first one and this previous 2018 one. Like, this is a direct sequel to the 2018 one. So basically all that's happened is Michael Myers killed 3 people back in 1978. And so the town is still kind of haunted by this, and I kind of still liked it, but I get that it's kind of ridiculous because, you know, like it basically starts on Halloween night. Like, it has the kid that Laurie Strode babysit. It has both of the kids that were like 8 years old in the original. They're fully grown adults, and they're talking about like, oh, I remember. You know, they all get together for beers, and like so it is kind of weird. Like, you would think that maybe, like, I could kind of see people doing that, maybe especially if you had a traumatic event, but seems like a kind of a stretch. And they add certain other things to it to kind of expand the lore. But I've never been super partial to the Halloween series. Like, I like the original, but I kind of never liked a lot of the sequels, so I'm not as familiar with all of the other things they did in it. But apparently there's some nods to the other sequels in it. Like, one of the other Halloweens kind of had something about like a mob justice kind of thing. But yeah, it kind of does certain things that I feel like subvert your expectations, and it really is kind of like the last Halloween. Like, the subversion was kind of like Laurie Strode is a little bit the monster in it. Like, they keep on doing things where they have Laurie doing in place of Michael Myers, kind of reenacting certain scenes from the original. In this one, it's kind of like the whole town is the monster, and all people act stupid because, you know, paranoia is taking over. So, you know, like, I totally understand if people don't like it and think it's kind of ridiculous, but I dug it, and like, I guess I kind of didn't go in with like super high expectations, so it was kind of a pleasant surprise, and it did kind of make me curious where they're going with the next one, because it for sure sets up the next version. And I think I've heard things about what the next one's going to do. Apparently it's going to take place in the pandemic and everything. It's somehow that's going to factor in. So I don't know if I want to see that in a Halloween movie, but honestly, this one went weird enough places where I could see how that's the next logical step. So yeah, once again, it's very strange because it's usually the sort of thing that I don't like, but yeah, this one kind of worked for me.
Yeah, I did not get a chance to see it. I remember the 2018 version. I was very confused because I don't know why I was shocked to hear. I don't know why I thought the 2018 version was maybe marketed it as, like, I don't know if it was falsely marketed or I'm misremembering it, but I thought that it was marketed as like, this is the last one.
Yeah.
So like, get on out there. You better go watch this one. This is it, baby.
Yeah,
this is it. We got Jamie Lee Curtis back. This is the last one. Blah, blah, blah.
I think.
And then is it David Gordon Green?
Yeah. Well, so
he's just like, actually, we got 2 more.
I think they marketed it as that, but like it was from the get-go he was signed on for a 3-picture deal or something. So I think that also ties in. It really honestly feels more like this is a season of TV, because when I was watching the 2 back-to-back, I felt like I was like binging a few episodes of like a Halloween CW series or something like that, but like with better writing. Yeah, it's like nothing's one movie these days. Everything's part of a multimedia package or something like that.
Did you see The Many Saints of Newark?
Oh, yes, of course. I can't believe we missed that. Did you watch it? Yeah. I was pretty disappointed, gotta say.
All right, well, I'd never made it through the whole series of The Sopranos,
yeah.
So I was just kind of like, I don't believe that this guy is Tony Soprano.
Oh, yeah, well, it felt like a lot of the other actors, it sucks because they got such a stacked cast of actors, but it still felt like a lot of people were kind of doing impressions of the other actors, like the only one that I honestly liked, even though he was like chewing the fucking scenery, is the guy that played young Silvio, and like how you find out like how Silvio, like why Silvio wears a wig and everything, like he's super bald. And it's funny because that guy is in First Cow and he's like playing as far away from a Silvio type of character. It's funny to see him in that role. Yeah, like for the most part, it wasn't even like, it really felt like, speaking of movies feeling like they're like half of a movie, like it really felt like, okay, I watched the first 2 episodes for another season of The Sopranos, and like nothing really felt like it got resolved. And like there's like it would have benefited with more time to spend with these characters. Like I felt like I liked the little bits of time I got with these characters, but they weren't like if I got 5 more hours with them, then I'd be way more into them. Like I was still, it's that whole thing, like movies versus shows. And also it did, even though I thought the main guy, I forgot his name, but the kind of the focal point of the movie, Christopher's father, I thought he had a really good performance, and there were some solid performances in there. And honestly, young Gandolfini is actually pretty solid too. But a little bit, like I felt like people were kind of doing more caricatures. Kind of like I felt like when you watch The Sopranos, the characters feel a little bit more real, just like human beings, and some of the characters in this just felt like a little bit like Fat Tony ish,
Yeah.
Low rent Goodfellas.
This is one of the weaker mob plot movies I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I was like, what are we even talking about here? Like, what is the beginning, middle, and end? Like, what are we doing?
like there's like characters just kind of do shit, and nothing kind of really seems like it ties together. And I really wasn't into who Ray Liotta's wife was fucking and why, and like
right, there was a lot of that going on in the background of like him like trying to seduce, and then the guma, if you will.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I'm so sick of movies where Ray Liotta like throws women downstairs. Like it happens. It's unfortunately such a cliche. like I honestly like I understand that's almost like a seal of approval when you have Ray Liotta be like one of your main mobster roles.
It's like, hey Ray, we're gonna need you to do it again.
Yeah, like it's like that's what they hired me for. Like I do 2 things and I do it well.
I like to throw Italian women into walls.
So that's the one thing is like whenever like those sorts of scenes were going on, it felt like it's like it just doesn't work when it's like I want to keep my Goodfellas and Sopranos worlds separate, and it felt like this was trying to almost like join them. And it's also like the style of it, like I this might just be me, but like I think everything these days, like color grading is great. Like just doing all the stuff, the color correcting to like bring out all the colors in your film and everything, it's great. But like I feel like it can be overdone to certain degrees today, and especially on like movies like, especially in movies where it's like flashing back to the past in the 60s, like I don't think everything was baby blue in the 60s, and that's the thing that kept getting me is everything, like if you watch The Sopranos,
the sky was bluer, don't you know
like
that?
everything feels like, you know, it's that whole thing where, and it's like everything's a little bit more, a little too vibrant, and like you compare it to the show is like Jersey's kind of grimy, and it feels like very grungy and brown, and
it's gray. Yeah. It's gray as shit. They're sitting outside on the patio of a shitty neighborhood eating deli.
But that contributes to the realism of it. And so, like, I think honestly that extra sheen they put on it kind of took me out of it more and everything. So you know, I'm interested to see, because I'm sure they'll do another one now. It feels like they're just going to come out with, like, you know, the Young Tony Babysitters Club, like 2 or 3 more movies kind of thing, but it might be.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. They're saying they're going to try to do one where Tony's in his 20s. You know what I mean? Trying to get Terrence Winter back in there.
Okay, I mean, I'd be into it. I think I also was kind of wondering if they were hedging their bets with young Gandolfini, where they're like, okay, we're gonna give Tony like 20 minutes of screen time. The most important thing he's going to do is try to buy beer. And then if this works out, we'll actually have him do something in the next one.
I couldn't believe how much they were just like, I want to play in the NFL. I want to be a football player. I'm trying to do this. Oh, no, you can't suspend me. I'm trying to be in the NFL. Yeah. Like, I was like, this is the most insane nonsense storyline.
Yeah.
Tony Soprano not making it to the NFL. I was like, God damn. In The Sopranos, do they talk a lot about that? Like Tony was going to play in the NFL, but then
I mean, they
I don't remember ever I was like, where's this coming from?
Talk a lot about, or they talk occasionally about how he liked to play football in school. I don't think he ever like had a going pro kind of, possibility. But yeah, that whole thing, it seemed a little bit like, I get the point of what they're trying to do is like, oh, look how different he was back then. But it is a little bit like, I don't know. I'm curious to see how he would go from that, where he's at now, to like in charge of the crew with Silvio and Paulie and all them. So there's room, like all things, maybe if the second one is a little bit, has a little bit more going on, and now that they've theoretically laid the groundwork, maybe a second one,
show how he got the bada bing.
Yeah, we can show
him, all the gabagool.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Loose women, gabagool. You know what I mean?
We'll figure out why Meadow is named Meadow.
Ooh, yeah, I like that one.
Like no.
No, I mean, there's just, it's just,
but it's
I
like
feel
the
bad
Star
for like
Wars
the same,
prequels. It's like that whole thing where to do a prequel, you have to kind of imbue things that probably weren't giving that much, just everything's important now because like you're looking at it with 2020 vision kind of thing, and nothing's organic or whatever.
Yeah, I just feel bad for Ray Liotta. As much as you can feel bad for Ray Liotta, but like him laughing maniacally is the most terrifying thing. Yeah. When like he's just sitting around a dinner table and he's laughing and his mouth is open like a wild chimpanzee. You know what I mean? Like that is horrifying. He's scary. His face just is just so altered at this point.
It was weird because like I had actually heard, and I do got to give him credit. I do like he did kind of give 2 different performances for the
he did.
The 2
he did.
Different,
that was a very weird choice.
The thing I had heard about that is apparently they had a different actor scheduled to play that person, and that person ended up asking for way too much money at the last minute, so they just asked Ray Liotta to do it too. And so
Jesus, hey yeah. Ray, hey bud, how about would you like to do twice the work?
Yeah. And he apparently dropped a bunch of weight. He filmed all the scenes as Hollywood, whatever, like the version that gets whacked, and then he dropped like 10 or 15 pounds or something like that to play the guy that's in jail. So, but it weirded me out because it was kind of like that Sopranos touch where sometimes like the Sopranos series got kind of into like weird, almost dream logic kind of shit that's kind of open up for interpretation. So as soon as it was like, oh yeah, Ray Liotta's got a twin brother, I was like, oh, is this just a dream sequence? Like, it clearly was supposed to be like some sort of like he's trying to make peace with the father he killed kind of thing, and this is kind of his way to do it. And I also heard it described as like the jail scenes are basically supposed to serve the same function as the Dr. Melfi therapy scenes are. It's like supposed to be like inner monologue.
Oh, interesting.
So
okay.
I thought that was cool, but once again, it just like it feels like it would work better as a series. You know, like it just like all these scenes. You know, and that's kind of how Sopranos work too. Like the individual episodes were great, but you're always viewing them in the context of this larger story. So, you know, like I feel like I got like little glimpses into this family that I thought was cool. Like I love all these actors. Like I love Vera Farmiga and Corey Stoll. But you know, I feel like, you know, when you go through like what did this character do in this movie, and it's like, I don't know, Tony's mom nagged a lot and got her husband shot a gun over her head. And, you know, like Tony tried to buy a beer, and, you know, like everyone gets like one thing to do, but it's like pretty minor. And it makes sense because that's not the Sopranos style to have some sort of big epic story that can fit into 2.5 hours. But, it feels almost like a tease where you're kind of getting like the beginnings of a potentially interesting storyline, but like I just don't feel like anything got resolved. Like the whole thing with the how the movie ended with the black dude who used to be working for the mob, who's like going into his own business and everything like that. Like that feels like that's like something that's going to be continued in another movie, but I don't know. And sometimes the Sopranos did that, where sometimes they just leave plot threads dangling as kind of like a like fuck you, that's how life is sometimes kind of thing. Probably most famous being the ending. But like, you know, but yeah, that's something that like for something that got so much screen time in the movie, I wanted to see some sort of like definitive resolution with it. But it just kind of feels like, you know, especially after that little shootout that happens between him and the main guy, Christopher's dad, like that never really comes back into play. And so that's the thing that kind of gets me, is like it feels like most of the movie was just like a lot of plot threads that are kind of left on the table, and I don't know if they're just leaving them to be picked up with for another movie, or if they're just gonna lay there, you know.
Only time will tell, my friend.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
Let's hit another one. Did you see Venom?
I did not. Did
yeah,
you
that's right.
not miss anything?
It's not.
It sucks. Andy Serkis directed that. I had high hopes for that one fact alone.
I went into LA for a show. I had some time to kill, and there was a Alamo Draft House. There was an Alamo Draft House up in LA, and I'm like, you know, it was right near. So I was like, we got some time to kill. What do we got? And it just so happened it was like, okay, let me say this. First of all, we went to The Last Duel, but we had to sit in the first row.
Oh.
And they were like, if you can't do it, just come back. I was like, because that was the only seats available. We were apparently it's the only movie theater of all time that went to go see this movie. No one else saw it. You know what I mean? So like Last Duel, no one right. saw it. So we go in, we're watching the previews. And I'm talking to Ash. I'm like, dude, I don't know if I can do this. She's like,
that's a big strain on your neck.
Yup, hell no. So like, and it was to the side. We were like front row all the way to like hard left, and we were like, can't do it. So rather than suffer the pain and anguish of that in a good film, we decided to sit comfortably in a shitty film. So we went and swapped out our tickets and went and kind of saw Venom, and then just sat through another iteration of this weird choice they've made to do Venom as this bizarre buddy comedy kind of thing going on. So with an unhinged Woody Harrelson.
Yeah, how is Woody Harrelson? I was curious.
Just weird. Just not even, you know, and I it's like, bro, Woody, this is not Natural Born Killers time. Like I don't know, man. I have a hard, I don't know. I guess they wanted a star to play Cletus Cassidy, but damn, I just did not really.
Well,
I just did not.
So
no.
biggest thing that I didn't like with the last one was like, there's such a clear, and once again, I don't really know how you do it unless you just have a really nice CGI budget, but like, it always felt like there's such a clear point where it's like, okay, Tom Hardy turned into Venom and now we're in a video game cutscene. So is it the same sort of thing, like where like it almost sucks because it's like, it doesn't matter how weird a performance Tom Hardy gives when he turns into Venom, it really depends on the CGI artists, and some of it can be kind of boring. It's so weird because Venom was like one of my favorite characters when I was a kid. But it was because he was an anti-hero too, and it feels like they kind of like softened
it's like
him.
they've taken, like, we love Boba Fett, right?
Yeah.
Like, but they made like let's make a Boba Fett buddy comedy movie or some shit. And you're like, no, like, we like Boba Fett. Like, we like Venom. Yeah, we like Venom though. And they're like, nah, wouldn't be Venom. Wouldn't be great. Like, no. We want like Todd McFarlane's Venom.
Yeah. He's got to be.
We want like
a jacked.
We want like basically a xenomorph. Like, we don't want this. You know, at least I don't. I don't know, man. Maybe the kids like it or some shit. I mean, it grossed $1 billion.
It's crazy.
So they're just gonna keep cranking them out. Tom Hardy's laughing all the way to the bank. Good for him, buddy. $110 million budget, and it is earned $441.5 million.
So
God damn.
I got a question for you. Do you? Because I think it's like public knowledge at this point that there's going to be some sort of Spider-Man tie-in and all this, and I know Sony's building their Spider-Man universe, but just because I assume the Sony quality is probably going to be more like these Venom movies and just be like a tier or two below the Marvel quality, do you think that will eventually kind of dilute the Spider-Man brand a little bit? Like if Sony just keeps on churning out kind of more and more mediocre, all of the Morbiuses and all of the characters you don't fucking care about, do you think that's going to have a net negative effect on Tom Holland's career, basically?
I think Tom Holland is looking at the writing on the wall, and he's getting that check, because I've seen stories coming out that he's like, I want $50 million for the next one. You know what I mean? I think he's like, yeah, that's
like their asking price. I heard fucking them say, what's his name, Chris Evans. They said like it's on the table. He could come back for like one more Captain America as old Cap, but his asking price is $100 million. Just flat out.
Come back as old man Cap for $100 million?
Something like that.
Good Lord.
But I mean, it makes sense. What? It's like that's where we're at now.
Are we? God
it's
damn.
Crazy.
Like,
I mean,
man, I don't know.
Once again, I would love to be just a fly on the wall in those like negotiation meetings, because that shit must be crazy.
Crazy. I don't. Those are numbers I can't even fathom.
No, right? People like kill people.
Can't even fathom
for that
like
money. Like.
What are you talking about? People kill people for I know guys in the army that are killing people. Yeah, like literally. You know what I mean? Oh, believe me. Yeah, we don't get paid nearly that much to kill people. Yeah. So like, believe me.
But like,
yeah, there's
like when you reach that level of, oh yeah, that's how you get me to walk out the door, is like a small country's freaking economy or something like that.
I mean, I guess know your value, but
yeah,
God,
I feel like that's where
all
this shit is eventually going to collapse. Is like eventually all this is going to become untenable. Like, I want
there's probably a Marvel bubble, superhero bubble. Yeah. Where and there's some studio, someone's gonna fuck it up for everyone. You know what I mean? Where the wrong star is gonna demand the wrong amount, and it's the wrong movie, and it just blows up. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I don't know what.
I'm waiting for the next Waterworld level. Disaster.
Exactly. I'm the wrong one. I don't know what.
Okay.
What's his name getting? How much is Morbius getting paid?
Oh God!
How much is
Jared Leto? He's probably getting paid something.
Jared Leto
good,
getting paid,
especially if he's Mr. Oscar.
He's gonna get that Gucci Oscar.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty excited. That's the one time. That's the one way I like my Leto is when he's like same thing as Johnny Depp. It's just like your personality kind of annoys me, but when you're covered under 10 pounds of makeup and truly disappearing,
You like him fat and unrecognizable or skinny and unrecognizable?
But it's or it's like the Tilda Swinton thing where it's like if you're not covered under prosthetics, I'm like, what are you doing? Like what's? It feels weird when you're just doing normal acting, you know.
Yeah, see, that's a real actor. You know what I mean? Salma Hayek, get it together. You know what I mean? People cancel Jared Leto because he's playing people who aren't Jared Leto. Did you know that there's like a huge contingent of people that hate Jared Leto?
Oh, really?
Oh, oh yeah.
Like aside
Google,
from his personality, or just like?
No, they hate him. They hate him for the Dallas Buyers Club movie.
Oh, gotcha.
The man is hated. If you go on Twitter and just go on to Twitter, like anyone listening, go onto Twitter and search Jared Leto and let me know. Report back. You will see some shit. You will see some people that are just fuck him, like hate him, like it's out there, bro.
Oh man.
I was kind of shocked, but
well, wait till that WeWork show comes out. All of the WeWork supporters are gonna be.
That's the weirdest one ever.
He actually seems like he would be great for because I watched that documentary and I could see him doing that. That's.
I gotta get more into the story. I don't know all the darkness around WeWork.
The dude's
you know what I mean?
got like it's all centered around the charismatic CEO, and he's got an interesting, quirky personality, and he's got this like really thick Israeli accent and like long hair and shit, and he's very like
oh god,
new
is
age.
he like a Tommy Wiseau type?
A little bit. He's definitely got it's a little bit of that like I'm super cocky and friendly, and I have way too much power and money. And I'm into all this crazy new age shit, so everyone else kind of has to go along with it. So yeah, like once again, sounds right up Jared Leto's alley because probably a lot of those same things could apply to him. So, but yeah,
he's like a cult leader now. Apparently, like people hate him for being a cult leader. You know
I could absolutely. I mean, he's got like mad. That's kind of his vibe, right? Is like.
I love that Jared Leto was like, I was out in like Joshua's tree. I didn't even know COVID happened.
Of course.
We're like, God damn, Jared Leto.
Yeah, that's the stuff that annoys me about him. Is like the it's like parody level of detachment, like or being out of touch with society. But he is also, like very talented. Like he's. I'm not gonna rag on you if you have multiple Oscar nominations and a Grammy-winning band and all that other stuff, but not always my
counting here. Real quick, did you see *Malignant*?
Yes, yeah,
the James Wan horror movie.
That?
Wow, you actually did.
Yeah,
I did.
Well, once again, thank you HBO Max. That was
HBO Max.
That was actually because the HBO Max day and date stuff has worked out pretty well for Warner Brothers, I think, because they have had so much just bullshit on their docket this year, so it's all stuff that would like just is targeted for showing up on HBO. Like that's where you want to see those types of movies, and this is like a great probably example of that. Like it's a movie that I probably wouldn't have gone out to the theaters to see, but it's a good movie to enjoy, especially if you knew nothing going into it. And it almost kind of I kind of wonder how much, if you know the twist going into that, how much that spoils the experience, because it's a movie that kind of hinges on that surprise. Like it kind of doesn't work well as a movie without it. Almost kind of like I don't know, like The Usual Suspects or something like that. Like there's a lot of things that while you're watching it, before you get the twist revealed, that you're kind of like, why is this person doing this? Or there's a lot of things that seem like glaring flaws that the twist kind of clarifies or retcons or whatever.
Yeah, no, I mean, the twist in *Malignant*, I don't even want to. I want people to go out and watch this or see it or something. I don't even. I speak very softly about it. Yeah, because I didn't see that one.
Yeah,
coming.
no.
No, that one. It borders on the ridiculousness.
It's so ridiculous.
You know what I mean?
It transforms the movie into a B movie immediately, but that kind of makes it
does.
more fun.
It does.
In fact, everything else leading up to it is almost kind of like I showed it to my brother, but like I just showed him from the twist to the rest of the movie because that's all you really need to see.
You started him at the twist?
Yeah, because he doesn't like horror movies, so I was like, here, man, there's some crazy shit, but I'll just show you this one. I showed him the jail scene, and then he was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Let's watch the rest of it or something. So, but it also is just like, like I like that they had to have a stunt person wear that ridiculous outfit or something, and that actress, like the playing the lead, like she's putting forth like a real performance, like she's doing a good job, and it feels like she's in a different movie until the thing happens, but so yeah, like it's cool, it's nice, especially when everyone's jaded today and feels like they've seen everything, and I'm not saying it's like the most original idea of all time, but like it's nice to be pleasantly surprised in a movie. And I gotta hand it to James Wan, like he's not always kind of my cup of tea, but he is good at doing that, and he's able to use his commercial cred to produce a weird movie like this every once in a while. And and apparently he came up with it with his hot wife, who is also in the movie. Like, did you notice there's a is it
the sister?
No, in the police station there's like a crime scene investigation girl who's got like glasses that's given like a weird amount of screen time. Like she only is in it for like a scene or two, but like she doesn't really have a reason to. It's like I don't know if we're going into spoilers or not. Anyways, so James Wan's wife is in the movie, and they apparently came.
Oh, is she the one that she's like in love with, the main detective or something? The main
detective, I think, is supposed to be a surrogate for James Wan too. I think that's supposed to be the in joke because
he's Asian.
Well, no, I think they just kind of look alike. I don't know. I could be reading into it too much, but when you have your wife playing somebody and they're like in love with. I don't know. It seems like kind of like an obvious way to tie it in or something like that. But so yeah, they apparently came up with the concept together. Like I don't know if I'd want to see sequels to it or not. Like maybe.
I don't know how you would.
Yeah. You could. I mean, who the hell knows? He's good at spinning these things off into franchises that you don't think would become franchises. So who knows? But.
I love the whole like underwater, like the Seattle underground thing.
That was
you know what I mean? Like
that
was just weird shit. Like that's real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like getting shanghaied and stuff like that. Like there's a lot of cool, interesting things, and then it gets a little goofy, but like it's worth a shot. So I'm scared to even really.
Yeah. Don't do any research. Maybe don't even watch, and also stick with it. It's like you think it's one type of movie. And then it kind of turns into something else. So you kind of have to make it to that point. Because I could totally see people maybe dropping out before they get to the thing that kind of turns everything on its head. So
absolutely, the turn.
It's all about the turn.
Did you see Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings?
No. I will probably rent that on Disney Plus at some point in sometime in the next.
Do you have Disney Plus?
I do. I got some deal.
Well, it's streaming for free on Disney Plus now.
Is it? No, you have to pay a rental.
No, you don't, man. It is just, it's free.
Oh, what?
Stop what you're doing. Hang up right now. Go watch Shang-Chi.
Did you see it? Yeah, it looked cool. Like
it's much better than the Eternals.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. And
it's far better.
Just Awkwafina alone will give your. It's funny because the trailers, the trailers just seem like all Awkwafina. Like I had no idea what the hell the movie actually was.
Man, they neutered Awkwafina though. You know what I mean? It's Disney. Yeah. You know what I mean? I think you captured the essence. And she's okay. I can only handle so much of her.
She's like the spice. You don't want to over. Just like most comedians, But yeah, like was the Shang-Chi guy good? Or it's basically like a Wuxia movie, right? Like it's like wire work.
Yeah. A lot of wire work, a lot of cool action, a lot of dragons and magic and all kinds of ludicrous. Weird Marvel shit.
So do they tie it, without spoiling?
They tie it in with like Doctor Strange and
and Iron Man 3.
Yeah, I mean Ben Kingsley is in it weirdly enough.
I was curious about that.
Like, why is he in
because
it?
he was
is that
the
a
original
connection?
Mandarin, and everyone got pissed off about that. So I was wondering if they were going to retcon that with.
No, well, he plays like an actor in it. So I'm like, is that is this the same gentleman?
Yeah, because that was the big twist in Iron Man 3 is like they were like, oh, Ben Kingsley's going to play the Mandarin, and he's going to be so badass.
Right, I remember that.
And then it turns out
Trevor Slattery.
Yeah, he's an actor, and that's one of the Marvel twists that I think was kind of ballsy and I liked, but like that most of the fans hated that. So I think one of the reasons they were doing this movie was to kind of retcon that and be like, okay, we're actually gonna, and like to actually like make the Mandarin an Asian guy and everything like that too, probably just to make it a little bit more, like accurate and stuff.
But yeah, and as a whole, it was it felt a little like series-y.
Oh yeah, like this is like
where
season 1 first few episodes.
Yeah, like this may have been a better series. Interesting, enjoyable. It's a lot of new stuff going on. You know what I mean? Like a lot of it's. God damn it, Marvel. You know what I mean? Like Marvel does this thing where it's like, all right, just go in and it's Marvel. No, it's like, oh nope, this whole dimension or a different world or there's a hidden this or that. You're just constantly having to learn. You know what I mean? Which
backstory.
It's just a lot. It's just a lot. You know what I mean? Who is this? It's like, oh, well, this guy's dad, he's 1,000 years old, and he's had these rings on his arms, and because of that, he's lived for 1,000 years, and he's managed. I'm like, what is that? You know what I mean? Like, this guy he's been a shadow mafia pulling the strings, Illuminati of the whole world for 1,000 years or something, and I'm like, is that new? Is that a new thing? Like I'm not heard anything about this gentleman, and any of the other shit. Like, how do we not?
Yeah, shouldn't the Eternals have stopped them?
Yeah, or like wasn't is he not part of like what's the shadowy evil? Hail Hydra.
The Hydra or the Foot Clan, or not the Foot Clan.
Yeah, right. Clan. Like how many of these like clans are there where they're just running shit behind the scenes? So I don't know. That was that whole thing. Whatever. I
once again just
bring it on. It's got a dragon in it.
Yeah. It's like one of those things where it's like, as these series keep going on, these issues are going to continue. Where it's like, okay, we've explained away this entire universe. How can all these things all exist at the same time? But yeah, that's cool. I'm glad they're trying something different, and it seems like it's going to suit itself well for the Marvel style. Cool action scenes and like you said, giant CGI dragons and stuff. That all sounds well and good. Yeah,
that's really all you need to know. Giant dragon, a lot of good, a lot of kung fu fighting and dragons and Aquafina. The main guy is great. I don't know the gentleman's name. This made. Hold on a second. Is this correct? This also had a massive budget, 150 to 200 million. It says. Box office $430 million.
It's pretty solid for a pandemic.
Good Lord, is that in America?
Just in America or worldwide?
Or is that international? 7th highest grossing film in 2021. God damn.
Do you remember them like around the time this came out? They were like releasing articles saying like, "Hey, maybe the box office is recovering" or something. So.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, in Southern California where I live, no one wears masks. So.
No.
Yeah, it's recovering. I'm like, listen, it's wild. It's like being in East Berlin and West Berlin down here. It's crazy. It's like, oh, are you going to L.A.? Listen to this. Okay, so we go into L.A. a couple weeks ago because I live like Newport Beach, so it's like, it's like an hour. It's a few miles from L.A., but it's like an hour or so because of the traffic. So like. I'm in Southern California. I'm in Orange County. That's L.A. It's L.A. County, right? So we go up. I go to a deli, very like, it's like Cantor's. It's like a cool old school deli, 100-year-old deli or something. Mm-hmm. It's like proof of vaccination to get into the restaurant. Okay, no, like both have it, whatever, we go in. You go to the Alamo Draft House, proof of vaccination to get into the movie theater. Yeah. Okay. Go to the show. Standing in line outside, proof of vaccination that you have, that you can get into this concert venue. Like masks on the whole time, like masks in the movie theater, masks in the restaurant, masks in the fucking concert. Meanwhile, you drive down into Orange County where I am. Literally, we're going to the movies, no masks on, indoors, No one like the staff has masks on. No one cares. And people are walking around. They're getting their popcorn. No mask. They're in the movie theater. No mask. No one cares. Completely, like, it's wild, the disparity and just like and how it's rocking. So
I think I know in LA, I think they like it's like a law that they got to do that now or something that they just enacted like a couple of weeks ago or something like that, or very recently.
Yeah, I mean, LA is just a different monster of what people will tolerate and what you will demand. Like, you go to Disney and no one. I think you have to wear a mask at Disneyland. We've gone and you have to wear a mask. And
how
if you're in,
are they super
if you're
stringent?
indoors in a line, you're supposed to wear a mask. No one. I've never seen anyone. I think we've gone since I've been home twice, and I've no one. I've never seen anyone like, "Hey, put your mask up." No one said anything. No, it's crazy. And then you go to Universal Studios, and you had to have a mask on. We went to Hollywood Horror Nights or whatever it's called. I think you had to have a mask on inside the park, no matter where you are, outdoors, whatever.
Weird.
You're wearing a mask. You're walking around outside in a mask, no matter where you are, like what you're doing. You know what I mean? So it's just wild, kind of, because Universal Studios is up in Burbank in LA County. Disney, obviously, down in Anaheim and Orange County. So
it's like literally just depends on the venue.
Yep. Yeah, it just depends on the county, really. You know what I mean? So
it's crazy.
Pretty crazy. All right. Did you see Kate on?
Oh yeah,
on Netflix?
I did. I totally forgot about that movie.
You did?
But yeah, that was an okay.
How'd you forget about Kate?
Netflix movie, like a good.
Just put it on.
Yeah, just throw it on Friday night.
Just throw it on in the background.
And I like. Oh, what's her name?
Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Yeah,
Winstead.
It's interesting because I feel like she's trying to action. She seems like she's trying to get really into the action movie pocket lately because her last few films have been kind of action. Like she had the Birds of Prey thing, and I know she was in that
Birds of Prey
Ang Lee Will Smith movie where he's got the twins. Like she was a secret agent in that or something.
Got the twins.
Yeah, where's Will Smith versus his younger clone?
Oh, Gemini Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I only made it the first half.
Yeah, I never gave that one a shot. That didn't really seem like my speed. But like I know she's like kind of. She seems like she'd be good for that zone. Like I'm still a big 16 Cloverfield Lane fan. Like
was that one? It was a Cloverfield Lane kind of actiony.
It's less actiony, but more thriller, and it was a really good role for her. Like it's like as a like believable like woman in a situation where she's got to use her wits about her and everything like that. Like the movie was constructed where it was very well centered around it, but like she was a believable star as that. And I think when she's well utilized, she can be great for that. Sometimes like I think when people don't know what to do with her, she can be kind of like bland a little bit. Like I felt like a little bit like that in Birds of Prey. Like I thought she was good, but like just the movie didn't give her enough time to fully I don't know. Maybe I need to give that movie another shot. But like I think she can be really good. And this is like a decent I guess it's basically what a Netflix movie would be today, which is more of like almost like a dad movie would be 20 years ago, but probably not with the it being a female protagonist. So but like I like her being kind of like a fish out of water in Tokyo. Any movie that's like kind of like a Tokyo movie that's kind of got a crimey noir underbelly where everything's kind of washed in neon lights and everything like that is immediately cool. It's pretty sad though. I mean, it's got kind of a, especially since you have the ticking clock and you kind of know that things are not going to turn out well from the get-go. It's I liked that ballsiness of them being like straight up like, oh yeah, it's not like we have an antidote for you or whatever, like you are going to die, it did kind of like make it kind of cast a pall over the movie or whatever. But like I like that they didn't try to try to like fluff it up or add in more comedic scenes or whatever, or even like a romantic interest or whatever. It's very much like just grounded movie about the loneliness of being an assassin, basically.
A lot of assassin movies, right?
Yeah.
What do you think they're like? Do you think John Wick has basically unleashed not only like the assassin genre, but I feel like a lot of female assassin movies recently?
Yeah. What's
Gunpowder Milkshake? Did you watch that one?
I watched like the first 20 minutes of it, and apparently it gets good right after that, and I never finished it. But didn't they just come out with the one with Samuel L. Jackson? It's like The Understudy or something. It's the not The Understudy. It's like The Protege, I think, something like that.
Protege, maybe. I don't know.
Same sort of thing. Yeah, it's like this assassin gets their mentor killed.
There's a lot of this kind of archetype right now where it's like the Sloane. Do you ever see Sloane with Chastain?
Oh.
Where she's like a female assassin and she's got John Malkovich as like her handler.
That does ring a bell. Yeah, I definitely haven't seen that.
It's got to be on the Netflix. There's no way. Yeah, it's either Netflix or Hulu. I saw it somewhere. But yeah, there seems to be a lot of this right now.
They're all very simple. You know, usually there's only like 5 actors. You know, you don't need a huge cast, and they're usually kind of the same thing we were talking about with like Mission Impossible and James Bond movies. Like all spy movie genres, like everything's so cloak and dagger that like a lot of things can be just vague, and you know, it's all just excuses for putting this character in this situation and hopefully having a cool action scene or something like that. But yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, I liked how they kind of constantly showed her just deteriorating, but like physically kind of just getting the shit kicked out of her. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
you really felt
like
the impact of, and the residual. You know, she is so messed up by the end of the movie. It's kind of refreshing too, because sometimes it seems like they shy away from that. You know?
Yeah. Well, it is weird, like, with the somewhat of the medical knowledge that I have of just, like, watching people just push through some weird things, like, man, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh, nope, that knife would stop you.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I mean,
it's hard to watch, like, oh, they've been stabbed in this region of your body. Like, I know what organs are in that region. Like, you're not going to be fist fighting an hour later. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, but that's probably going to ruin, like, all action movies for you, because that's the biggest thing, where it's like, cool, you would have gone through 1/100th of this movie and been, like, totally
Yeah, people are harder to kill than you think, and they're easier to kill than you think.
Yeah, and
at the same time.
At the very least, I assume it's probably takes a lot of effort. And so like, The Raid, that's a good example, you know? Yeah. Like, dear God.
But, yeah, I like this one. I didn't finish Gunpowder Milkshake. I didn't like Gunpowder Milkshake as much because I found it a little hokey. I found it like a much closer to kind of a John Wick ripoff of like this shadowy organization, and then I've got this group of women that are running this like library, and it's got guns in it, and like it was like, this is like, you guys are like this is like a shittier version of John Wick, and I'm not even. I like John Wick, but I'm not
as into it.
I think it's
a little smidgen overrated, or like the fervor for John Wick is probably greater than the movies are themselves.
Well, I don't like the whole like, oh, the High Council or the Order or whatever or this token means this. I have a blood oath because I signed this.
Confusing. And that's the thing, is the first one was cool because it didn't seem like that stuff mattered. Like, all that stuff seemed like it was in the background of this pretty simple story. And then like the sequels is like, oh no, this stuff actually quote unquote matters. And it kind of sucks a little bit. Like, like anytime.
I just find it weirdly lame. Yeah. It's like, oh, this is I'm safe if I'm in this building, and I can't be killed in this one.
So now they're like doubling down. Like, you heard about how they're coming out with the Mel Gibson prequel series or whatever.
Oh man, it's like a whole universe.
Yeah, like, so now this is what everything's about now. Is like, what how many sequels can we build into this thing?
Damn it. So Mel Gibson is playing
He's the guy that like
a mentor.
He's the guy that like I guess ran the hotel that John Wick
before
or something.
Ian McKellen or
I'm
something.
Guessing,
or?
Yeah, it's apparently some like a prequel TV series, so maybe it explains the High Council and all this other shit. But it's all the stuff that you kind of don't want. Like it takes away the mystique. I assume. I
can't wait for that.
Who knows? Maybe it'll be cool. But like, yeah, John Wick is a great example of all of the plot is very superfluous from these super baller action scenes that are really why people show up. So,
I like it because I like Keanu Reeves and I like the fight scenes.
Yeah,
and he seems to actually have some like weapons training.
Yeah, the fight scenes, like I don't even care that much about fight scenes, but the level of choreography, especially in the last one, like when they had that one scene where the dogs were fighting as well, and the fact that there's so much thought put into it. You know, it feels like that is like a ballet that you're choreography.
Yeah. Well, they went out and I like the what's his name? I don't know, man. Like he's a famous kind of
the dude that did the Matrix
stunt fighter
things or whatever, right? Isn't that his big claim to fame?
Was he in the Ray the Mad Dog? He was like the tiny guy. He's like remember when John Wick fights two guys in that glass box room or whatever?
He has like a ponytail or whatever.
He has like a ponytail. That guy's like incredible. So like he's famous. I think from the Raid. Totally. I think he's famous for. I'm trying to remember, but he's been doing it for like forever. Guy's like 50 something years old, but he's still just out there killing it. So
yeah, I mean,
I appreciate
that. Yeah, God you can do that. Keanu too. I mean, you know, kudos for doing this stuff when you're almost 60 or in your 60s or something like that. You know.
Oh, I almost forgot to mention my buddy. My buddy is an actor, and he was up for the role of the guy who gets to poison Kate.
Oh, wow.
But he missed out on it.
Oh, man.
But he auditioned and it went well, but
didn't get
he just
callback.
They changed it into the guy who was like Dario from the Game of Thrones.
Oh, okay.
Remember the guy? He was like in he was in like the flight attendant. He's the guy that gets killed.
Oh, yeah.
They kind of went
totally know the guy, yeah.
They went with that guy. Yeah. All right. Well, get him next time, buddy.
Don't worry. There'll be other spy movies and plenty of spy people to
Absolutely.
poison.
He's like an action. He's kind of he's more of an action-y type, martial artsy type dude. He was in like Altered Carbon.
Oh, wow.
He was in a couple different things. So he's like he's more stunt than acting, but he does.
Hey man, that's a great way to get in. You know, at least if you're a stunt performer, you know, they need you to do a specific thing on camera, and then you can cross over or whatever.
You almost got the poison.
Keep reaching for that rainbow, man.
All right, let's jump into some shows. We haven't really talked about too many shows. Kind of one of the surprise series for me, Only Murders in the Building. Did you watch this on Hulu?
I actually was thinking about that today, how that seemed like a great show. That one just got lost in the noise for me. That kind of happens with Hulu shows a lot, I think, where, you know...
That's a Hulu problem.
Yeah, like I usually use Hulu for like Bob's Burgers or something like that. Like I have my go-to shows, and then
like Archer, like
exactly.
Always Sunny on
there. In fact,
Bob's.
Yeah, like Hulu is more of an FX delivery system for me than a like streaming service. So yeah, they have great content that I just forget about. But I had just remembered that yesterday, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll try throwing that on. When we need something to watch. So you and Ash have been watching it? Are you liking it? Or
No, yeah, we finished it. So it's really interesting. It's just kind of a fun show. I mean, it's honestly not too crazy, but each episode really does kind of like build off of
the previous one.
Of one another and previous. Yeah, but like it kind of keeps you thinking. I mean, you think you kind of have it figured out, and then it jumps around and kind of moves. So it's interesting, man. It's well written.
I just think Steve Martin and Martin Short together.
Yeah,
it's got to be nice. Haven't seen that forever.
They always. I'm like, why don't you guys do more shit? I know you're richer than God. Probably don't need to do anything, but like
touring. They've had like a live show together.
Yeah, they have like a comedy show. Together,
I think that's what they've been doing for the last few years. So I think this is like the first thing they've done. You know, like they're doing this thing together, but like, yeah, they've both been preoccupied just touring and playing
'Cause,
banjos.
like, I kind of, yeah, but if I'm Steve Martin, like, why did Steve Martin stop making movies?
He probably just got
Like,
tired,
like,
man.
You think
Especially
so? You
when
just
his,
get tired
his
of making all that money?
movies were like getting shittier and shittier. Like he kept on having like, what's the one he did
What was
with
his last movie?
Queen Latifah, Bringing Down the House.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
He had that once he
you're right.
started hitting his cheaper by the dozen phase. It's like we are no longer in Father of the Bride territory, But all those movies made.
I
a
still
ton of
love
money.
Sergeant Bilko, man.
Oh,
you know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
Sergeant Bilko.
Yeah, and
That was mid '90s though. Yeah, so like I'm trying to think. Yeah, it's been a while since Three Amigos.
true. Yeah, I mean
the
it's so hard to tell though because he still looks the same age, kind of.
He's like 80 years old.
Insane, man.
He's still out. He's just looking great.
Good for him, man. I think.
Good for him. But it's a great cast. It's really cool. It's cool to kind of see two older guys. Literally, I think Martin Short and they're both in their like late 70s, and then you've got like Selena Gomez randomly in there, and the dynamic kind of the three of them have together is pretty great because Selena Gomez. I always think of Selena Gomez as like 12 years old.
Yeah, she's
apparently
still,
she's like 27 now
she,
or something.
She always doesn't matter how much she grows up. Like she always reads as a Disney kid to me. Probably something about her face. She's got the.
I just assumed she was like 17 maybe or something, but no, she's like 27 now.
Yeah, I mean it's been a minute.
Is it possible? Like I think Bieber and all those kids are
was
older
like
than
10
we
years
think.
Ago or some more, like.
I guess you're right. Yeah, I guess I.
But I feel the same way. Like I know what you mean. It feels weird because like she's attractive and everything, but yeah, she just looks a little. She just has a young looking face or whatever. But she's a great actress. Like I feel like she. Yeah, I was wondering how she like she probably complements the Short and the Steve's energy basically.
Yeah, no, because they poke a lot of fun at how kind of like old man oblivious they are about certain things. And so a lot of it is like dad jokes or them trying to like, because Martin Short plays a kind of like a stage director of like a Broadway director who thinks he's super hip and cool. But he's really like he's just kind of old and lame. And then Steve Martin plays a actor who kind of had a successful series like in the 90s, like early 90s, and is just like living off kind of residuals or whatever, and then hasn't really done anything since. I'm trying to think of like, not exact. I'm trying to think of a comparable. Oh man,
like a guy
maybe
from
like
Wings kind of thing.
Yeah, man. Just think of someone. Maybe not. Maybe like a David Carradine style of like someone who just imagine David Carradine without all the choking and the,
the
Kill Bill. Yeah. So that's kind of what he is. So he's, and they live in this Upper West Side, kind of insane apartment, building where, it's like goddamn millions of dollars of an apartments or something like that. None of them can really afford them. Like Steve Martin, Martin Short is kind of struggling to figure out how he's going to stay in this incredibly expensive apartment or whatever. But they're all there kind of somehow different reasons, and all the characters and all the, because you kind of learn all the different tenants are all suspects in a murder that occurs inside the building. And why was this person murdered, and all the connections and all the neighbors and the gossip and jealousy over different things that go on in apartment living in New York and all that shit. So, very, just kind of like, I don't know, like wholesomely interesting just to kind of have on. Like if this is the perfect, like, if you're married or have a girlfriend or whatever, you just need something to kind of watch together while you eat dinner. This is perfect.
It seems like it's a nice, like, how there's like a subgenre in British television. My parents like love it. It's called like cozy mysteries, where it's like it's always like somebody. It's usually like a British, like it's like somebody in a small town solving mysteries, and it's like about the mystery, but it's kind of just about how quirky the characters are too, and this seems like almost like
it's like Sherlock or something, or
kinda, but usually it's
or not even Sherlock. What was the Pierce Brosnan show where he was like a
Oh,
detective before he became James
I know
Bond?
what you're
You know
talking
I'm
about, and I cannot remember the name of it. But that's probably a good example. Yeah, where it's kind of almost more like a weekly, almost like a Law and Order or ER thing, but it's about like this person in town that everyone knows, and it's all kind of about like small town stuff or whatever. I'm telling you, there's like a whole universe of shows that are just like that, and that's pretty much all my parents watch. But this kind of feels like that's kind of like geared towards the same audience, where it's like that's, you know, you get all the intrigue from the murder mystery, but it's still kind of mostly about characters and kind of almost like a little bit sitcom stuff sprinkled in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't doubt it. So check that one out. It's one of the few, like, I don't know, I watch a lot of crazy shit. That one, if you watch anything we've talked about so far, I almost suggest that one above anything else we've seen. You got me watching Fairfax a little bit. I'm getting triggered over here.
Yeah, I felt like that was like so deeply up your alley. Just Mr. LA.
Well, it is. It's weird and hard to watch in some ways because it does hit hard. I go shopping sometimes on Fairfax, and you're like, God damn it, I hate this place. You know what I mean? Because I'm not a hype beast, but I dabble.
Right.
I dabble in a little bit of the hype. You know what I mean? I like a little bit of sneakers. I like, a little bit of Palace. I like a little bit. I'm not really into Supreme. You know what I mean? But I can't handle the Supremeness.
Right.
You know what I mean? I like Cause. You know what I mean? Some of the more hypey type shit, I'm a big fan of. But this one, it's interesting, man, because it hit a few different things, like talking about Supreme drops and shit like that. I love so it's a weird, it's like so meta, I guess, you know what I mean? Kind of talking about a very specific type thing. I don't know how well this is going to handle. This is one of those, like, you ever hear people talk about Seinfeld where they're like, if you're not a Jew living in New York, you don't get Seinfeld.
And
you won't get it.
That's funny because a lot of the things you had mentioned, like, I'm totally not a part of that world. Like, I like art and fashion and everything like that, but I'm like not at all, like, especially the main fashion brand. So, like, for instance, the main fashion brand in the show is called Latrine, and I knew that was parodying something, but I did not know it was parodying a specific thing called Supreme, and like probably like a million things like that. This seems very location specific.
Yeah, no, it's kind of making fun of that. That part of LA is huge on streetwear. They go to they go to, I don't know what they call I can't remember what they call the deli, but the deli, like Cantor's Deli, famous deli, is like right.
Yeah, it's Cantor's,
what's
but
it called?
It's Schwimmer's, like Dave
Schweimer's
well,
or
it's supposed
something.
to be like David Schwimmer, I think, like as though Schwimmer owned his own. I think I might have misinterpreted that or something, but yeah, that's supposed to be based on like an actual location, right?
So it's based on Cantor's, which is right down the street from Supreme. It's wild. You got like this 100-year-old deli that's right next to Supreme. Makes no fucking sense.
That seems like it's like a seal of like a big city, though. You know what I mean? It's like it's funny because like the deli that we went to, like they say a line where the kid who's I'm trying to remember, I don't know the characters' names, man. But like tells the new kid, one of them tells the new kid, like, yeah, this place is great. Everything costs like $40 for some fucking reason. Like, we don't know why, and I'm like, that just hits so hard, like you go to these delis and they're like, oh, you want a sandwich? It's $25. Like, you're just like, what? Like for like a turkey, corned beef sandwich, whatever. You know what I mean? Like we tried to go, what was the deli we tried to go to New York? Oh, you're talking about the
and we
famous,
just left. Was that
the When Harry Met Sally one? I forgot the name of it.
God damn it!
It's the one that's been in like
I remember when you
movies, right?
Yeah.
I've been there before. I cannot remember.
It's in the Lower East Side. We tried to go. This is you, right? When you came up to visit in New York, we tried to go to the deli, and we were too intimidated by the ordering process that we just left.
Yeah, well, they were like, I mean, I think they're always swamped, but they were like, like line at the door swamped and everything.
It was like, take a number, stand. Yeah. I was like, I gotta get out of here. I can't do this.
Yeah.
What was it? Katz's Deli, right?
Yeah,
was it Katz's?
Didn't they just close or something?
Holy shit.
Recently?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know, but I was like, oh, let's go to Katz's Deli, damn, dude, we just couldn't handle it. I was like, I'm just I'm
Too fast for
bright-eyed,
my
bushy-tailed.
blood.
Dude, I had a like I love New York for the food, but goddamn, the restaurants suck. It's weird, man. Like, you have so much competition in New York to make money as a restaurant, but they treat you like shit.
Well, they're just trying to hustle.
I've
you
never
in
been
and
treated
out, right?
worse.
Just because like they want to get the next person next.
I mean,
ass
you would
seat.
think so, but damn, dude. Like, I was waited on. I've been to foreign countries that don't have tipping. Like, tipping is not part of their culture, and they treat you better than New York does. It is wild. I remember Mike came to visit once, and I had a freak out inside of a restaurant about how bad the service was and how we were getting treated. Mike was like, "Oh, whatever, I'm in New York, and I just couldn't stand for it. I like stormed out. I freaked out. You know what I mean? I was like, I'm like pretty agreeable, but for the most part. But like, I was like, we've been sitting here for 45 minutes and no one's come to like ask us for a drink order. You know what I mean? Shit like that. And I remember having a freak out. You can ask Mike about it when he came up.
Yeah, certain things that it's like, it's almost like certain things are being like a personal slight, towards you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I felt insulted. Yeah. But yeah, Fairfax. I mean, Fairfax. It's talking about Fairfax Avenue in Los Angeles. It's a, I don't know. I'm trying to think of how you would describe this. It's a parody of the area and the street and the culture.
And the kids mostly. But it's like, I feel like it's almost like a very generation, Generation Z, whatever the hell, generation below
whatever's at, they're like 13-year-old kids or something. So I mean, like, whatever, even beyond Gen Z or something at this point. It's realistic, but also takes a lot of liberties and kind of makes fun of the insanity. I think I think I've seen like 4 or 5 episodes maybe, and there's a scene where like they get into like a Tesla school bus.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because like which is designed as like the crazy Tesla truck or whatever.
The
you know what I mean?
Cyber truck or whatever. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So like they'll make fun. They'll be like, oh, our school bought one because it was because it's the best like ridiculousness of LA. You know what I mean? Of like, oh, we spent $400K on this because it's more fuel efficient than than a Prius or whatever. You know what I mean? So I loved how just insanely. Some of the episodes
satire.
are getting into like, I mean, I love, so I was getting like Ugly Americans vibes a little bit from the animation style. I was getting like some of these different things, but like I love like the first episode where they're kind of talking about like a Supreme drop, where it's like, I don't know if it's every Thursday, but it's Thursdays, and they just do these, the ridiculousness
and
of
it's got to be
Supreme.
the Dr. Phil like retro. It's like a pointlessly
the box
retro
logo
thing.
too.
Yeah.
The collabs and just like and I don't in case you guys, I mean, I'm sure I'm talking to some 12-year-olds screaming at me right now about like, fuck you, dude, about my Supreme lighter or like my Supreme crowbar, or my Supreme toilet plunger, or my Supreme like tissue box and shit. You know what I mean? Like some of these hype brands, they'll make things that are so insane just to see if they'll sell it. People will buy them.
It's done ironically, but like when you reach that level, like you could stick your name on. It's like
my dog bowl. This Supreme dog bowl is $1,200.
But that's exactly what
like
they're making fun of in the show. See, that's the thing is like
absolutely
on surface level, not knowing that, I thought it was like a funny concept, but just seeing. No, this is actually very kind of close to the thing, the thing that it's parodying in reality is like, is fascinating,
It's it is interesting because they'll jump from things that are not real to things that are very real, to like the red label, jeans in one episode of like the red label, blah, 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 like. Very weirdly, oddly specific things that only real like hype beasts would kind of know. You know what I mean? That there's like insane weird demand for this shit, but then like they'll invent weird new things at the same time. So they're very, it's like tongue in cheek. You know what I mean? They kind of understand how insane a lot of their actions are. But like, I mean, it's fun to watch. Like
it's clearly like the people that wrote this, like they know this world well and everything, right?
Yeah. No, I mean they must. Like you couldn't really do that. Like I couldn't really write the show. Like I know a lot about this world, but I couldn't write the show.
Yeah.
So like, it's especially some of the episodes that are diving more into like social media and like Instagram getting verified, like how you get verified, how to stream, like how to get followers, like blah blah blah. Like some of that shit, man. I'm just like, oh god, it just hits so weirdly, horribly hard, like that. I'm just like, I don't even know if I can handle some of it. You know what I mean? But yeah, no, it's fun, man. I mean, I haven't gotten into the whole thing yet, but.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's like a nice, and
it's
nice because it's like kind of a, it's nice that it's not a, even though I like a lot of them, not another Rick and Morty clone kind of thing. Like it's kind of got its own distinctive style. It's like one of the few things, like Amazon's programming, I suppose, is slowly getting better, but like especially in their animation department, it's like one of the few things that I actually kind of given a shit about it, and it feels distinctive and yeah, like how like most of Amazon's streaming is kind of geared towards like, I don't know, like more baby boomer centric crowds, I feel like, or maybe like that, but so it's nice that they're diversifying a little bit and have something. I think the only other thing they had, that show Undone was pretty good, but that came out like 2 years ago, I think. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I never made it through and never finished it. Did you see? I don't. Did you see the Blade Runner anime that just came out?
Oh no!
Literally like last night.
I did not even realize that dropped. I think I had been hearing that was coming out, but I did not know. Is this its own standalone story? I'm guessing, or.
It's its own standalone story. It takes place kind of between the film, the original, which was what, 2019?
Yeah,
or something. That's when it's supposed to take place, 2019, or something like that. Okay, and then this takes place 2032, and then Blade Runner 2049 was the Ryan Gosling, Villeneuve,
and they had some whole thing. I remember when 49 came out, and they came out with like a little anime movie with that.
Yep.
Like they explained that, what is it, like they shut down the power grid between movies or something like that. So does this movie, this new one, kind of go into that a little bit, or?
So it's trying to like explain or fill in the gaps, I think, of that time. And those animes were incredible.
Yeah.
Like I loved that whole series, and then this is just not that.
Oh no.
Like, it's kind of disappointing.
Is it
so,
Netflix? Because Netflix kind of churns out some shitty, like, kind of CGI anime fusion kind of things.
It's Adult Swim. So it's an Adult Swim Crunchyroll thing. But, like, they went and got the studio. Hold on, let me pull it up. Because the guy who directed those anime shorts is the creative producer of this. Okay. But it doesn't really look like that. So, like, this is...
well, doing like 1 or 2 like 20-minute anime movies is much different than like doing a full season, so that probably played a factor.
No, this has I'm trying to remember the name of the studio that did this, but this is very, oh man, it's got like this like legendary animator guy, director, Shinji Aramake. I don't know, man. It's brutal because like the actual the scenery is incredible. Like it's exactly what you want.
It's like the backgrounds, and
the
all
set
that
pieces,
shit.
backgrounds. But then, damn, dude, they just fucked up the actors, and the character work.
Is it just basically so like a generic? Because this the thing is, like, so many animes are already kind of very Blade Runner influence, so is it just like a generic anime that's got a little bit more specific Blade Runner type of iconography kind of mapped onto it?
Yeah, like it kind of has that weird gross sheen. Like, I mean, the voice acting and the English dub that I watched was pretty bad, and they went out and they got a lot of good voice cast. I mean, they went and got Jessica Henwick from Iron Fist, and she's kind of in a bunch of different things. They've got Brian Cox in it.
Oh, wow.
They got Josh Duhamel in it. But the gentleman he was the captain now. You know what I mean? From I'm the captain now.
Yeah.
From Captain Phillip or whatever.
The second Blade Runner.
He was so he's in Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah, he's the guy trying to buy a tree or something like that.
Yeah, he's kind of evaluating. He looks at the wooden horse.
Yeah.
And he's looking at it, and so a younger version of him is in this.
Oh, cool.
Right.
So there's like light
so
things to tie in.
Yeah. You're just like, man, why couldn't you guys made this look better? Because it's done by Sola Digital Arts. And so, if you guys have ever seen the straight to DVD Starship Troopers animated movies?
Yeah, I've seen clips from them.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah, that looks.
So they did Ghost in the they did the Ghost in the Shell show. What is it called? Standalone Complex. Yeah, it looks like the people don't look good. It looks like the cell shaded like Nintendo.
Like Wii game kind of thing.
Exactly. It looks like the Ninja Turtles that was on Nickelodeon. Yeah. It looks like there was like a weird Batman series that kind of had the same animation style, and you're just like, God damn! Did you guys figure out a better way to do this?
I think that style is like kind of like the Hanna-Barbera cartoons of our day, because that shit is like kind of an aesthetic style that I think is done because you can churn shit out quicker. You know what I mean? It's like, it doesn't look great, but it does the trick a little bit. Even to a degree, even though I think they do a much better job with it, like even What If kind of suffered from that, where it's like things look a little too robotic sometimes. Like the CG takes away from the 2D shading stuff. Even though I'm sure it's saving them so much time and everything. And you do get some cool visuals out of the 3D-ness. Like it really, especially when it's just like they churned this thing out in like less than a year. So well, that's a shame. That I guess I can just pretend that I didn't hear you tell me that and forget that it existed then, because it sounds like it's not worth any time.
I mean, so the story is still kind of developing. They put out the first 2 episodes last night, so I watched them this morning on my DVR because they came out, I think, like midnight, 12:30 or something. So it's kind of yet to be seen. I mean, the story is kind of it's slow, but I don't care about that. You know what I mean? It's 2 like 30-minute animation shows. They have like Neander Wallace, the Jared Leto character.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of he's like he's like the younger version, so you're seeing him as a younger version.
Is he not blind yet? Because that was a whole.
He's not blind. Yeah,
that's
cool.
He
seems to be.
I honestly don't mind them kind of filling in some of those gaps, because that there was a lot of stuff that happened in between movies, so that's probably ample space to explore or something.
Yeah. So I mean, it's an interesting plot so far. It is. The protagonist, it's not a Blade Runner who is the protagonist. So it's a female, replicant who is kind of the main character, kind of going through some different things, trying to figure out her past and things like that. So I don't want to get too crazy about it, but that's about all we know yet.
Well,
so far.
All of that sounds promising. So it's a shame. It's a shame that it's not as engaging as you would hope, but who knows? Maybe it'll change. Yeah. Maybe it needs a little.
We're hoping so. It's got potential. We'll stick with it. Did you watch Midnight Mass?
I did. Yeah, actually,
Okay, I did. I didn't finish it. I'm only like 4 episodes.
Are
in,
you?
But is it worth my time?
Oh, man, I would say. How do I say this? Because this is another series that is very spoiler related. There's a thing in it that I think you're at this point, but there's a very definitive point where the series got kind of more interesting, and I don't know, it's a very mixed bag for me, because I missed the last Mike Flanagan thing. I don't think I ever watched Bly Manor.
I didn't watch it either. I watched the Hill House, then I skipped Bly Manor, and then I'm back in for Midnight Mass.
Yeah, and I would say it's a good example. I don't want to call it a blank check, but it's like definitely you could tell, like, he's reached that point where he this project probably didn't cost that much compared to certain things, but he was able to do a lot of reaching, and this is apparently a personal project for him. It's very tied into his like Christian upbringing and all that sort of stuff. But I think it exhibits his best and worst traits. Like it feels a little overstuffed to me, and there's a definitive hook to this series that I think is very interesting, but it sometimes it works very well, and certain things drag out and don't work at all. Without going into any specifics, this, like, one of the examples is, like, it has one of the worst examples of, oh, this actor is clearly the character they're playing is supposed to be in their 70s, but this is clearly somebody in their 20s, so I'm gonna wait. It's like a Chekhov's gun.
I think I know.
Yeah, like you're just
yeah.
when's this person gonna become young, kind of thing. And there's a certain degree of while I actually liked really how much the faith aspect of it was, like, kind of embraced and, like, not shied away upon or whatever, and there's, like, a lot of very lengthy talks about just what is faith to you and all that other stuff. To a certain degree, sometimes it had the feeling of, like, me being bored in the back of church, like, especially, like, there's a lot of long sermons given by the main priest, and he's the best part of the show, actually. He's, like, the really, really, really solid performance, but like, some of them go on, like, a little too long. Like, I feel like I kind of get the gist for some of them, but it's solid, and it's interesting. It's kind of nice because it seems like it's kind of a fusion of certain things. It definitely reminds me of one very specific Stephen King property, but you can't say that until you kind of watch the series. But so that's the best way to watch it. It's also a great series to kind of go in without knowing much going into it. I would never say it was scary, like, as usual. The same thing with, like, pretty much all of Mike Flanagan's stuff. Like, he's a good director because he's, like, knows his characters really well. He's usually pretty good with a camera, and he's great with plot. Like, there's, like, pretty great plot twists and everything like that, but, like, he's not never, like, truly makes you not a whole bunch of truly scary stuff here, but there's some interesting concepts, and it is kind of weird how, like, the story kind of takes place, like, it's ostensibly supposed to be set in the modern day, but it really feels like it might as well be set in the 50s kind of thing. So it's interesting how they were able to pull that off in this sort of story without me thinking too hard about it. But yeah, it's interesting. It feels like, I don't know, like, it probably could have been 5 parts and been a little bit stronger, in my opinion. But yeah, I definitely respect Mike Flanagan. He's really, especially using this Netflix model. Him and his wife have really carved out, like, a really. I'm just impressed that, like, he is able to do the type of projects he wants and like, do it with his wife, and, like, they're all kind of different and, very much his own thing. So yeah, it's worth watching. Probably better as a Halloween watch, but, still worth checking out.
I'm working my way. Ash, like, tapped out early. She's like, dead cats? I'm out.
Yeah. That was a hard watch for me too. Yeah.
Well, we'll see. Maybe, I don't know if he's got any movies on the hand or on the docket. Doctor Sleep type.
I think
things going on.
He's working
or whatever,
on something, but I don't follow him that closely, so I'm not honestly sure. I just assume whatever he's doing is just going to be another Netflix thing. He seems like he's pretty locked in with them.
I mean, get that Netflix money.
Seriously, man. They seem like they treat each other right. Like, that's a good working relationship.
All right. Well, the podcast, we can't finish it without talking about the Squid Game.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? We gotta, you know what I mean? I was begging you, watch the Squid Game.
Oh, so I had wanted to, because you were texting me asking if I had seen it, and I don't think I got back to you, but, like, when it was, like, really hot, like, a month ago, I watched the first episode, but the person I was watching with was talking over it the whole time, so I kind of, like, knew what was going on, and it had subtitles, so it's, like, easier to keep track of. So I've kind of watched the first episode, and I watched the opening, red light, green light, and all that sort of stuff. So I'm not totally in the dark about the show and everything. And
Okay.
you know, I kind of, in general, like I've kind of been a fan of like enough kind of fucked up Korean cinema. I think you and I both have that. We kind of, you can get the gist pretty quickly. It's like something Parasite. Capitalism is horrible. We're gonna have some fucked up deaths in here, some torture scenes or something.
I agree. I enjoyed it. Because I kind of saw the trailer and I passed. Like I was like, oh, this looks like, you know, any other weird, low budget nonsense, weird battle royale style death contest show. And I was trying to watch, like, I think Alice in Wonderland.
Oh yeah.
Or not Alice in Wonderland.
Like
what is it
Alice
called?
in Blunderland. It's some sort of like pun, right? Or yeah, like it's not Wonderland. It's something else, but it's something that sounds like Wonderland.
But in the plot is very similar, where people are kind of being in this weird game against their will, right. And they're being killed, and there's masked people that are killing them and things like that. So I was like, it's just another one of those. And I just kind of watched it, man. I was like, wow, I thought it was one of the most well done kind of series I've seen in a while.
Nice.
So I don't know. I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm sure I don't have to sell freaking Squid Game to anyone.
I mean,
other than you probably.
Do you think have they announced, are they doing like another season of this, or is this like officially a limited series?
That poor bastard who created this and directed it and everything, that got paid, you know, a pittance by Netflix. You know, he's like, I didn't get rich off this. I didn't get any Squid Game money.
Does he actually have to participate in the Squid Game to get the giant pig filled with millions of dollars?
He's getting that pig. I think they backed that pig up to his house because season 2 is on the way.
Oh, shit. You
know what I mean? So I'm sure homie is getting absolutely paid for that one, as well as kind of, you know, some core cast or whatever. And I don't want to spoil anything, but, you know, I'm sure that there's a few people that are looking at all this publicity going, this is the most watched show in Netflix history, blah blah blah. Like, I'm gonna want 30 minutes. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what would even be reasonable.
Whatever calculus they use to fucking generate their streaming, like to greenlight their $500 million movies, like you can use that for your salary, right?
Because I think the whole series was like $20 million budget for a series. You know what I mean? So I mean, it's not super cheap or whatever, but like, what is a season of like 911 on Fox cost?
Yeah. Especially with all those like big American stars, you know.
Yeah. So anyway,
well, that's cool.
Watch Squid Game.
I'm super
people.
glad that it's like, you know, kind of becoming like a big thing. You know what I mean? Like, it's not. I feel like a few years ago, I don't know, I wouldn't have seen something like this get as popular as quick, and I think it's kind of cool that people are into concepts this weird. Yeah, and I don't know, like Netflix especially is just like a great gateway to, you know, some like good like international dramas and stuff like that, you know? Yeah, no,
I think I'm glad some of the actors, the old man, you know what I mean, the main character, just happy we're getting a little bit more of that kind of influx of talent. But are you excited about, speaking of which, are you excited about, and we'll have to, I don't know what we're going to do. Are we going to do an anime comparison to Cowboy Bebop, the live action?
I've never actually seen the show, so I'm not going to binge like 6 seasons of the...
No, there isn't that much Cowboy Bebop.
Oh, really?
I think there's like 26 episodes maybe or something. Okay. Like you could knock it out in an afternoon.
Shit, that's I mean,
here's what you do. You go on Netflix. It's all on Netflix.
I have it. So
there's no commercials. Get it rocking. You got to crank the speed up just a little bit.
No.
Give me a 1.2. No. And then you're just gonna, you know, pour yourself a cocktail. You know, you're gonna watch. You're gonna skip the intro. And you're just going to pound.
There was something. I usually hate that feature in Netflix, but I got to admit, there was something I was watching the other day that was boring as shit.
It's incredible for documentaries.
Yeah, if you're just getting raw information, I totally get that. There's a part of me that kind of like cringes if you're like watching, you know, if you're watching something that's supposed to be like viewed at a certain speed, but like once again, if you're watching total crap, then it's fine. Like I was, what the hell was I watching where I was using that? Anyways,
Are you gonna hate watch season 2 of Lock and Key?
oh god no, I ended
put
up
that up to 1.5.
I ended up accidentally turning on a promo for it because they had some promo where it's like the characters had a trailer for the movie they were making within the show, but that was all that was on like YouTube. So I was like, oh, what is this? Oh, is this some new show? Why do these actors look familiar? And then it dawned on me, oh no, this is Lock and Key season 2. God forbid. I can't.
I've pushed so much of Lock and Key, the series, out of my mind. I can't even remember what was happening. I just remember I hated it. You know what I mean? Like, you know, when like a dog hates a human for no reason. Like, I don't remember.
It's just bad memories associated. And it sucks because it's like...
Love that
comic. Yeah, the comic was so good. And like, you know, usually if something's like bad enough for me to be like, I fucking hated this thing, like, you know, like I'm usually pretty wishy-washy forgiving.
It was you're more like, I hate this.
Like this offended me.
You're usually pretty level-headed. Yeah, like a lot of the hate comes from me, this side of the aisle. But I remember specifically, Lock and Key sticks out to me as like your most hated almost piece of anything we've ever
and that's totally true. I think that is up there, but just because like I think that was probably one of the better examples of our read the book thing, because it was like one of the better examples of like we had not just one but two examples of like how to do it right and how to do it wrong and how the show was doing it wrong, and you know the comic was like fresh in our heads and stuff. I don't know. You know what I've been watching that I am like, because I've been big on HBO Max lately, but there's some show called like I forgot the guy's name. It's called How To with John. I want to say his last name is Arbus or something like that, but I'm probably messing it up.
Okay, I think I've scrolled by it. Like it has like a yellow thumbnail.
Yeah,
maybe?
It's like the thumbnail is like a guy with a video camera, like kind of looking down at like a picture, like I don't know, a piece of trash blown by or something like that. But that is basically the show. It's kind of charming. Like this dude's a super weirdo who like I don't know his backstory. I've not done any research on him, but he just records every moment of his life pretty much. And so he lives in New York, where you know everywhere you look there is something interesting if you're just looking at it right and everything. So it's hard to explain, but he
Is it like Nathan For You kind of style?
Kind of. I guess the humor is kind of like that because he's a very deadpan guy, and you can kind of tell he talks like this, and you know he's kind of like a weird nasally guy that does a voiceover over everything, and he's a little bit of a nerd. But like, so he'll do an episode on something you never think about, like the scaffolding in New York and everything like that, and then he'll be like, he just must have thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of B-roll of just people in public in New York, and the comparisons that like as somebody who edits, like I really appreciate it, because it's just like he'll always make, it'll be like or he did an episode about how hard it is splitting a check or something like that. So he starts out with a lot of footage of people on the street splitting checks, and then like, you know, kind of getting annoyed when like they have to get the bill sent back to them because something was wrong or whatever. And he'll say in the voiceover, it's like, you know, it's great to eat with friends, and so he'll take a shot of like a bunch of teddy bears sitting at like a little toy playset that he saw in a window or something like that, and then he'll say like, but if you don't get the check worked out, you can be left in despair. And then he finds another clip of a giant teddy bear that's been like left on the street, but it looks like it's like on the ground crying. It's really hard to explain. Like if you see a trailer, you kind of get its vibe, but it's a cool show. Like, you know, HBO Max has a bunch of like weird little shows like that are kind of like nice quality things that I'm kind of surprised that a big company like that puts money into. So yeah, I've been kind of watching that a lot lately.
Okay. I will have to check it out. Well, there you go. Let's wrap it up. We appreciate you guys listening. As always, been a while. I think this one went a little bit long. We're both like a little brain dead at this point, probably. You know, because we've been talking for, I don't know, probably like 6 hours.
Yep. That sounds about right.
Like we record these for we'll talk for a long time. Usually before, sometimes
there's like an hour and a half at least of like ramp up time. You know, we have to get.
Yeah, we usually talk for a couple hours before we start recording.
Yeah, this isn't like you don't just come right on stage and run a marathon. You have to warm up and stuff.
You know, yeah, it's 6 months worth of.
Oh yeah, we're out of practice.
Recap. Out of practice here. So, anyway. Thank you guys so much for listening. We appreciate it. Go to thedisorderly.com. Like, share, subscribe. Leave us a comment.
Yeah. Tell us how
Let
much
us
you
know
missed
why
us.
Jared Leto is going to get canceled.
Yeah. And hopefully we'll be back soon.
Absolutely. You know? We'll finish reading Dune by the time the second part comes out.
And thank God I got two fucking years at least.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate it. Talk to you next time.
Good night.